like to say good day and welcome to our graduation for our LeadVR participants. Yay! I'm excited for you. I heard someone saying earlier they were ready to get this over. I think it's just the nerves, right?
It is. It is.
Overall, this has been a great leadership training experience. And so, as we go through today to hear everyone's presentations, just know that we are excited and we are here with you in your presentation. So, I'm going to share my screen. Everything's so different now in Zoom since they've updated. So I feel like I want to make sure I'm sharing the right thing. Can you all see my screen okay?
Yes.
It
Yeah.
says LeadVR.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I thought I'd do a review of where we have come from, if we have any guests here. And while I'm thinking about it, I did put in the chat, but for those of you who are just getting on, if you have guests, when it's time for your presentation, feel free to introduce your guests at that time. And then faculty, if you would like to chime in and give your reflections and thoughts about your groups after their presentations, that would be amazing as well. So I'm going to do a quick overview of LeadVR. We'll go to our presenter, Ms. Stacia Johnson from Oregon Commission for the Blind. And then we'll take a break and then we'll be back for our presentations. I
Hey,
think that's right.
real quick, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
You all are going to put our presentation up, right? Or do we put that up?
You do have the power to control your presentation, so you're expected to present it yourselves, but if you need me to present, as long as I have it, I can run the screen.
Okay. So I just didn't know if I put the initial one up or if you all are going to put it up and then I will maneuver through it.
You will put it up and maneuver through it.
Okay.
But again, if you need any assistance, I'm happy to help.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So LeadVR is leadership that empowers, that holds self and others accountable, and provides opportunities for development. We started this year in February with a self-awareness activity with the DISC evaluation. Our participants also had an opportunity to do a 360 evaluation. All of those things help develop awareness of ourselves and so that we can hold ourselves accountable. But we also have opportunities throughout this training over the last few months for participants to hold each other accountable through their faculty groups and their accountability meetings. All in all, LeadVR offers an amazing opportunity for participants to connect with one another in ways that they previously have not experienced. Even if it's in their own agency, as many of you have found, people that you don't get to work with often, here's an opportunity to connect, to build relationships, and to expand your horizons. So it's this opportunity to look to all the issues, the trends, the resources that are available in vocational rehab, not only in a state level, but also nationally, to get that perspective and to explore the future of VR and our role in shaping that future. So in our first session, we had those leadership styles assessment where we connect the dots on how we show up most of the time. What do we look like in the workplace and what can people expect from us? And how do we, when we have that self-awareness, use that to build greater team engagement, to help with motivation, and also to help with those critical issues in VR, the retention and recruitment. That was followed up with the 360 assessment, where we get that feedback from our colleagues, including our supervisors, to find out where our strong points are, but also where our opportunities for growth and development. I would be remiss if I didn't mention Dr. Bernice Davis joined us in our first session, our virtual session in February, and did a great presentation about the importance of emotional intelligence in self-awareness. We love this quote from Aristotle that tells us that awareness of ourselves or is the beginning of knowledge. So having that awareness of who we are and how we show up and how we reflect to others, how we come across, helps shape us in our leadership development. In our day in-person session, and I should say this is the first time LeadVR has gone to an in-person session. Over the years, in our previous 3 cohorts, we've heard a lot from our participants about how busy they are and how time-consuming these 4-hour sessions that have been held monthly over 7 months have been difficult to manage, considering that many of you are in a situation where you're managing caseloads, you're staffing caseloads yourselves, in addition to supervising the work of others. So this in-person session gave us a different opportunity for participants to come together and connect in a way that we had not previously experienced. So in those 3 days, 2.5 days, we explored a lot. We had a presentation from Mark Schultz on the future of VR, Natasha Jerde from Minnesota, right? Staffing, conflict, and change, managing implementing agency change. We had our faculty who did outstanding presentations and discussions on management from the middle and having a growth mindset, leadership, communication, workplace motivation. And then we followed up with some small group discussions about our 360 findings. What do we do with that information? How do we apply it to ourselves and to our work? And then strategic issues to address. How do we pull everything together to develop an action plan for the future? That first day was full. I think I had to kick some people out of the meeting room because the discussions were going so well. In day 2, after reviewing and debriefing the first day, we had a presentation from Michael Quinn at RSA about using data and using those data in decision making, providing us with a national perspective. Followed up with from that with David Leon sharing using data and decision making as an agency leader. And then we had more discussions from Sharina and John about managing budgets, the big picture, giving us small group case studies so that we could apply the information that had been shared with us in real life scenarios. We also talked about, in our discussion led by Veronica, about building and maintaining relationships with our stakeholders. And that was such a huge list when we begin to break down all the different people that make a difference in our work, that we can improve in our relationships to help further the mission and vision of VR. And then we had those envisioning roundtable discussions where we talked about the ideal manager, the ideal supervisor, the ideal counselor and administrative assistants, and what that means for us as leaders and how we have to shift our perspective in order to create that ideal workplace. Of course, we ended the day with some action planning. And then on day 3, which was only half a day, and we realized that should be a whole full day going forward. We heard from Joe Xavier from California, where we pull all the pieces together. Where do we go from here? And then come back to our roots. How do we create this culture of belonging? And then a really amazing presentation from Sharina about pulling all the pieces together to address those national CSAVR priorities and what that may look like, what ideas we should consider in our future work. That was followed by 3 hours of small group coaching sessions with our faculties, leaders, facilitating those sessions, which gave the participants an opportunity to explore their personal and professional goals to help further enhance their relationships with their colleagues in their faculty groups and to clarify their priorities. We also, with those faculty group meetings, an opportunity again to develop and enhance the accountability. We didn't necessarily have accountability group meetings, but from there they could help support one another, which I got feedback from faculty that was happening in those sessions, in those coaching sessions. Project work, that's why we're here today. In that last day, participants were challenged to take all the information that they've been given about data, management from the middle, communication, their own reflections on from their 360s to develop a project that would address one of the 3 national CSAVR priorities, retention and recruitment, outreach, or streamlining VR processes, and a 4th one that we added, which we think is integral to VR, morale and motivation. So we are here today to hear from them on their recommendations and their action plans. This work has been made possible largely due to the support of the faculty who have been there through thick and thin with the participants, providing guidance, motivation, and counseling. The faculty include John Conley with CSAVR, Veronica Jackson at UA Currents, and David Leon from Virginia, and Sharina Sewell from Virginia DARS. So a special thanks to them as the participants come forward with their projects, presentations. I just want to say thank you for your support, your coaching, your guidance in helping them get to this point. All right, so next up, we're going to hear from our special guest, Daisha Johnson. And Daisha, I think you sent me a PowerPoint. I have it right here. If you want me to pull that up and share it, let me get myself situated and figure out which one of these on my screen it is.
And Robin, if I have shared screen capabilities, I'm also happy to do it myself if that's easier for you.
Feel free, you can.
All right, so why don't I get out of full screen? Good morning, everyone. Just give me one moment. I'm not capable of multitasking, evidently. All right. Can folks see me okay and see the screen all right?
Yes.
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 All right. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you to Dr. Freeman and all of the faculty for the opportunity to celebrate with you today. Robin, when she asked me to join you, she said, you know, I want you to kind of focus on the power of you. And when she said the power of you, she's talking about you all, you graduates of the LeadVR program, and really celebrate your accomplishments and your willingness to lean in on some of the critical elements of leadership as you kind of take the next journey in your leadership opportunity. Robin already mentioned, I'm the executive director of the Oregon Commission for the Blind. I've held that position since March of 2013, so a little over 11 years now. And my background is I was a vocational rehabilitation counselor. My graduate degree is in rehabilitation counseling. I'm absolutely continue to be passionate and committed to the field of public vocational rehabilitation. And as Robin knows, I'll talk to anybody about it anytime anyone asks. So, and she said, would you be willing to join and celebrate the future VR leaders? I'm like, you bet, I'm on board. So one of the things that I'm doing in my personal life is my youngest daughter is graduating from high school. So today's actually her last official day of high school before she graduates on Monday. And one of the things that we were talking about is Dr. Seuss. And one of the quotes that I wanted to share is, you know, you're off to great places. Today is your day. Your mountain is waiting. So get on your way. And I've been talking with my daughter about that, but I thought this is actually relevant to what we're doing here today as well. You're on your way to your next phase of your leadership process. The other thing that I wanted to just share with you as you're kind of thinking about this leadership journey that you're on, and as Robin was kind of summarizing where you've been since February, it's pretty impressive. Not only the body of work that you've individually accomplished, but the quality and the caliber of the faculty that you've been able to engage with, as well as the guest speakers. This is really a unique experience that LeadVR has offered you, in which you're talking with a former RSA commissioner, a lot of the thought leaders that are state directors around the country, CSAVR leadership, and your faculty that have experience in really a breadth of not only career development, but also, the actual operations of a vocational rehabilitation agency. So I hope that you feel fortunate to be able to have spent this time in kind of creating some additional perspective and tools in your tool belt. I always think about leadership in terms of a leadership foundation. And when I mean a foundation, and there's a picture on the screen that it has just like a building that has the rebar reinforcement. And to me, the professional development becomes part of that foundation for you that hopefully stands up over time, right? That you continue to strengthen and build upon. But what you do with it is up to you. What you create and build on top of that foundation really is, your personal journey, and whether that means that you continue to develop and maybe move into, higher, more responsible leadership positions, or you continue to expand your portfolio and the work that you're doing. This work is going to forever inform you and what you're doing moving forward. It's funny because I actually went through a leadership program probably, I don't remember the year, but probably about 22 years ago. And I still think about that. I think about my cohort and some of the exchanges we had. I certainly think about that 360 review that we went through. And some of the feedback that I received from not only my supervisor or my peers, but also my direct reports, who had some suggestions on how I could improve as a manager. You also have had an opportunity to connect with other people around the country that also are committed and care about the work of public vocational rehabilitation. To me, that's one of the best aspects of connecting kind of outside of your organization, is you meet folks that can be thought partners, as you're kind of wrestling with some, particular challenge or opportunity within your organization. I oftentimes, and many of your faculty members know this, I oftentimes will reach out and just talk with people who aren't in the weeds of whatever I'm struggling with. And it's super helpful to sometimes saying things out loud to someone who isn't in the weeds with you, but also someone who wants nothing but your success, to be able to kind of network and go through that process. One of the things that I don't want us to leave you today without saying is we are at a pivotal time in the public vocational rehabilitation program. In 2020, we celebrated 100 years of the public vocational rehabilitation program. And I was thinking about this, and if some of you were at CSAVR, I can't remember which conference it was. I think it was in the fall of 2023. We celebrated the 50 years of the public vocational rehabilitation program, and I was thinking about the public VR house, and if we were a house and we were built in the 70s, what that house would look like. And, envisioning like green and yellow appliances and shag carpet and, some inefficient systems. Well, the public VR system really started over 100 years ago. And you know, the leaders of now and really as you're building into your whatever future leadership opportunities you're going to embrace, we have an old antique system, right? And, thinking about what else happened 100 years ago, none of them are the same today. So in 1920s, a convertible car was invented. Radios were around, but radio stations, a television, our individual single unit refrigerators. If we kind of picture what a car looks like now versus what it looked like in the 1920s, it's the same function, and the same objective, but it doesn't look or function at all like it did before. Same with how we transmit information with radios. I mean, I got in my car this morning and I have a satellite radio, right? And so it's a totally different functionality. My television is connected to Wi-Fi and I can get any number of crazy things on that thing. So, and I have them in many places in my home. So, on the screen here, I have a picture of a family that's sitting in front of this tiny little TV. Well, my TV in my family room is big, so my husband can watch sports on it. And we don't have the same relationship with our TVs and refrigerators. My refrigerator, not as more expensive, but it certainly functions. You can create your grocery lists on them, all kinds of exciting things. So if you envision the 100 years and all of the work, and you've talked about the strategic priorities of CSAVR, that 100-year system needs work, and it really does need leadership. And, the power of you in part is because there are many opportunities, and I'm sure your projects will lean into this, to make an impact on what the future of the public vocational rehabilitation system will look like. I think we're all here today because we deeply care about it, right? We see the impact that the system has on job seekers and our business customers. We understand the significance that it has in expanding the opportunities for individuals with disabilities to be a valued member of the workforce in our society. But we've experienced I would say a rapid amount of change that I think has kind of challenged us to really think about what we're going to do with the disruptions that we've had to our environment. WIOA, which has been around now for 10 years, changed how we measure success. It blew up how we work with pre-employment transition, kind of in-school youth. It completely was a disruptor to our world. And I think we're still trying to figure out what we're going to do about that and how we're going to embrace that change. We all experienced a once in a generation pandemic, and it changed. I don't know how your organization is working, but it changed how and where we do our work. Zoom is a thing now. We're able to, be in different places around the country and be able to have this conversation today. But also the remote work. Not only did that change how our workforce does the actual service delivery for our organizations, but it also changed the opportunities for our consumers. The economy has changed. Society has changed about how I think people view the world of work. And this is something that was not caused by the pandemic necessarily, but I think it was certainly accelerated because of the pandemic. We have counselors who, we envision that would stay for a period of time that has decided to change careers altogether. Go off and take a leave of absence from not working at all and spend time with their extended family. Trying to think about what does my life look like and how does the world of work fit into it? What that means for public VR leaders is we got to figure out a way to keep our organizations filled with qualified people who have the same commitment to the service delivery goals and objectives that we all have. And the power of you in part is because we need leaders. You know, the fact that you've spent this time to continue to hone your craft and understand your strengths and opportunities for your future leadership potential is so incredible, because there are, I would say, unlimited opportunities for leadership within your organizations and really around the country. You know, what does that look like? And Robin, and I'm sure your final projects will talk about this. What we know is our systems 100 years later have to be more responsible for the customer needs for today. You know, we've done some internal work within our agency in Oregon. Some of the things that have been put in place that don't really meet the expectations of how we relate to information and expectations. For example, 60 days to eligibility, right? It's like, that's forever. We don't tolerate 60 days in our regular life in any other way. So the state of California and many states have emulated it, created expedited eligibility, and most of the time, you know, within 5 days, consumers are getting a yes, and they're moving forward to plan development. So really just trying to think about that in a new and modern way. Our business processes, the things that we do to procure services. You know, we are very much bureaucracies. And we are oftentimes comfortable, and I'm saying we because our agency does the same types of things where we have, you know, purchase orders and procurement processes, and that's not really business at the speed of now oftentimes. So really trying to think about, just because we've always done that, you know, just because it does function, you know, what's going to be the most effective way? Is it hopping in a Tesla and going on a road trip, or a Model T from the 1920s? I think we all know the answer to it, and trying to think kind of in a modern systemic way is important. Flexibility and communication. You know, one of the things now that kind of blows my mind is we don't call clients hardly at all, right? They're texting counselors, they're emailing counselors. You know, the way we've typically communicated, oftentimes they'd rather FaceTime than hop on, in our case, our clients don't drive, so hop on public transit and head into the office. They'd rather just hop on a quick FaceTime. And so the way that I did counseling in the 1990s is not the way that our current counselors are doing the work. They're responding to the changes in the customer demands. And timeliness and relevance of services, it's thinking about how we can deliver the best services. And one of the shifts that we've made in the last several years is that includes cultural relevance, is right. Making sure that we're delivering services that make a difference and have the appropriate cultural context of that consumer that are going to be able to make a difference in their lives and ultimate goal of employment. So in that action plan, one of the things that I think is helpful is to think about and encourage you to continue to think globally through your opportunities that exist within your organization. LeadVR has been a perfect example of that. I would challenge you to continue to do that. Think about how to connect your work with the broader system, what's happening within your agency, within the context of your state, because oftentimes there are state demands that also can impact how you can operate within your organization, and the country. You know, the fact that you're leaning in already to the strategic priorities of CSAVR, those priorities that Robin described today came from the field. They came from agencies. We did a period of several months of kind of listening sessions and feedback. And so how those were born was from listening to agencies. And the cool thing of watching the strategic priorities develop and evolve is there is a shared thought and shared commitment to moving the system forward to make sure that we're focusing on quality staff and recruiting and retaining, that we are focusing on having the best systems and processes that are efficient and can move our consumers through to their success, and hopefully limit the burden on our teams. And then, the last thing is we need to get the word out. We have, oftentimes you'll hear, which drives me a little bit crazy, we're the best kept secret. And the public VR system has an incredible story. We continue to make a significant impact and have a unique role in that overall workforce system. But we struggle sometimes with getting the word out and figuring out the methods of getting the word out. And I think that all of us and all of you have a unique opportunity to continue to do that at the local level. Get the word out about the incredible work that your team's doing, and promote the value of the public vocational rehabilitation system. Some of the things that I just want to remind you as you leave this experience is sometimes I think we forget when we go back to the daily grind. You are a leader, and you don't have to lead at the executive level to make an impact in an organization. Sometimes I would argue, even though this doesn't say much for my particular role, since I sit at the executive level, most of the people in any organization are not there. They don't sit in the executive suite, right? And that's where the power is. So oftentimes I think there's this perception that because you are not in an executive highest level within the organization, that you don't have any power. I would challenge you to think and switch that dynamic in your mind, because I think the power's where the people are. And if you are in the middle of the organization, you actually have the opportunity to influence up within your leadership ranks, but also through your direct reports. I would encourage you to inspire others. The thing that I lean to during difficult times oftentimes is inspiration. So I have a quote here from John Quincy Adams, one of our founding fathers of our country. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. And I think that counselors do this with their clients all the time. And I oftentimes challenge myself to think about when you're doing the mechanics of managing an organization and thinking about all of the day-to-day operations. I think oftentimes we forget to do that inspiring and dream work, right? We don't take the time to allow ourselves to do that dreaming, thinking, believing in what's possible. That's why I loved being a counselor, right? Is because you're really connecting with that other individual and helping them envision, based on their own unique strengths and interests, where they want to fit into the world of work. And to me, a leader does that same mechanical work to try to think about how team do we want to dream and think differently and do more and make a bigger impact. And how I think we do this is connecting with the mission, being willing to take risks, leverage the strengths of your team, but don't forget to have fun. I think that element is sometimes lost, that this work is so important, but it also is so great, and really take opportunities to try to have fun along the way. The other thing I just wanted to remind you of is, as you're pursuing opportunities to make an impact, don't underestimate the ripple effect, right? And I think the strategic priorities of CSAVR is a perfect example where some ideas were presented And that has literally gone across the country. Ideas that can take hold can go and go and go. So even if you're taking small steps, if you're doing that leading with influence, if you're inspiring others, that work that you're initiating can make a significant impact, not only across your team, your agency, but beyond. The other element that I just wanted to encourage you to think about is being accountable for action. You have these projects, but oftentimes we go through these meaningful experiences of training and you know, you're like, oh, some of you maybe feel like, oh, as Robin was saying, you know, I'm glad that it's over. I just want to get it over with. I would challenge you by the end of the week, which I guess is the end of tomorrow, is to think about a few things. One change in each of the following categories that you want to lead or champion within your organization. And you get to decide how big or small these are. And I would encourage you to calendar these or put these and memorialize these somewhere. A small change that you could accomplish in the next 30 days. Something little. And this might be something like, I'm going to run my meeting differently, or I'm going to recognize my teams differently. You know, I'm going to create a new habit that shifts my thinking or listening, or I'm going to be open to, you know, listening more, whatever that is. A moderate change that could take 6 months or a year. Something that you want to lead or champion that might be, you know, it's not going to be quick, but something that you care about, that you want to have influence over the next 6 months of the year. And then the final one would be something that would be significant, large, ambitious change that you would like to see that has a broader impact that might take a year or more. And write these down in whatever way that is memorable to you. And then check yourself on it and see where you're at. And I think the piece that this does is it shows that forward momentum, that you're actually thinking in a way and you're holding yourself accountable for actually specific actions that you want to take to make a difference. And practice being the best leader. Take risks, be accountable, pursue opportunities, and don't be afraid to push for what you would like to see within your organization, within your team. We all have our own insecurities, right? But I think that the more you be comfortable with being uncomfortable and taking those risks, it's going to prove to make a big difference. And don't forget, the future of our program is in great hands. It's in your hands. Really, the future leaders, for those of us who have been around a while, we may retire. There's going to be opportunities, big and small, for all of you to take advantage of. You have the power to make change happen, large and small. Your passion and commitment will make a difference in the lives of our customers and your teams. Pay it forward, inspire others to lead. I am who I am because of a lot of the folks that you've had the opportunity to interact with. Having that inspiration of others that you care about, that you respect, and you monitored their work and their successes. And don't give up. I think that one of the things that I oftentimes say is our field, vocational rehabilitation, is built on the optimism and the inherent belief and the capacity for change and transformation. And so just keeping that sense of optimism in your work is going to guide you a long way. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being willing to be here and to spend this time and to go through this process to lead and improve. But also just thank you for the opportunity for me to have a small part of this celebration, and to just encourage you to keep leading and keep being who you are. Thanks so much.
Yay!
Yay!
Thank you. Thank you, Daisha. Awesome presentation. What you said about the ripple effect, I think is something we should all take to heart, because you never know which piece of your presentation and the words you've shared have impacted each of the participants here this morning. I know I was taking notes, and I've already have an idea going forward, just using just one thing you said, 30 days, 6 months to a year, or a year to 2 years. I think reframing how we do these projects, I'm going to apply that principle to that going forward. So thank you for that. Great nuggets of information. And before you go, are there any questions for Daisha Johnson from Oregon?
Any
Questions or
questions?
comments?
You ask me anything.
Anything, y'all. Anything. It's an opportunity. Don't waste it.
Okay, what was your biggest success over the changes that you made and that you actually followed through on?
That's a good question. I think that there's been many that I'm probably proud of, but I think what I'll say to this group is spent some time to create some team dynamics, leadership team development, and creating a really strong leadership team that trusts each other, has fun together, respects each other, and does hard work together. Spending the time on that took energy and resources, but it has paid off in dividends, because a healthy organization can accomplish anything and can deal with the goods, the bad times, the hard things in a way that is just so much better than if you're not a healthy leadership team. Thank you for that question.
You're welcome.
Priyanka?
Um, so just thinking about your 6 months to 1 year, what are you looking for the next project for you? What are you thinking creatively this time?
Oh, that's a really good question. So we're a small agency, and one of the things to speak to the third priority for CSAVR and just promoting the public awareness and the value of the public VR program. We're tiny, we're never going to have a communications position, but I'm like, I got money. We should be contracting that out, right? And so the thing that I'm taking ownership on within our organization, and we don't have a lot of teams, so it's going to be something it's going to be my baby, is trying to figure out a way to create a communication strategy that's manageable using external resources. So
Thank
that's
you.
yes, thank you for that question too. See, now I say it out loud, it holds me more accountable, right?
Yes.
Now you guys can all, next time you see me, you'll go, how's that communication strategy going? And I better have a good answer.
Anyone else?
What was the most unexpected or surprising challenge you faced in doing all these changes?
That's a good question. I think that you cannot, a couple things, but the first thing is you cannot over communicate. You can't, I think that's something that you hear where I swear sometimes I feel like I'm a broken record. And I feel like people must be sick of hearing me say the same things over and over again. You cannot over communicate, and I think that's true. And you also can't assume that even if it's a good change, that folks are comfortable with change, right? So don't underestimate the importance of change management, because I made some very naive assumptions that good change is good and that everyone would be good with a good change. And you still have to manage through the change. Even if everybody is on board, it's still a transition. And in an organization, change takes management, takes resources.
Well, Daisha, thank you again. Hats off to you for the presentation on the power of you. We really appreciate you sharing your wisdom, wealth of knowledge with us today.
Yes. Thank you for letting me join you this morning. It's been an honor. Yes.
We enjoyed it. It was excellent. Thank you.
All right. You have a
Thank
good
you.
rest of your time.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. So right now we'll take a quick break. We'll be back at noon Central Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time for a presentation from Sharina Sewell's faculty group with Paula Cienez from New Mexico, Karen Eltrich from Delaware, Jennifer Hahn from Wisconsin, and Carolee Morrison from Wisconsin. So let's take a quick break and we'll be back at noon. Thank you. All right, we are back and ready to start our projects presentation. First up is Sharina Sewell's faculty group. Sharina has in her group Paula, Karen, Jennifer, and Carolee, and they're going to be presenting on recruitment and retention. So I will turn that over to Karen Eltridge.
Thank you. So my name is Karen Eltrich, and I'm a district administrator for the Delaware Vocational Rehabilitation Program. Want to thank the LeadVR group. Our group has really appreciated the program that we've been a part of. We appreciate the guidance and direction that you've given to us. It's been very motivational for all of us. And we especially appreciate Sharina Sewell for being our mentor and guide through our program. She's been excellent, and we've very much appreciated the input and the guidance that she's given to us. For my state, I'm not quite sure if my folks are on the phone, but my deputy director is Stacy Bragg. So she might be here from Delaware, and my director is Alicia Jenkins, who also might be here from Delaware. Can't quite see who's on the call, but I just wanted to introduce those two individuals if they're here.
Stacy is here.
Okay, great. And Jen and Carolee, I don't know if you want to kind of introduce your folks if you happen to see if they're here.
Sure. So my director, Patty Noland, is on the call, and the Assistant Deputy Bureau Director, Anna Egebrecht, is also on. And then Jen, I'll let you introduce your director.
Hey, my name's Jennifer Hahn. I'm a voc rehab supervisor with the Wisconsin Division of Vocational Rehab. And joining us also from Wisconsin is my direct supervisor, WDA Director Andrea Simon. And it also looks like Allison Gordon is on, our Deputy Administrator for Wisconsin.
Great.
I would also like to add, as we move forward, Paula is not able to be here today. She had a once in a lifetime opportunity, and so we are going to be, she worked on the presentation with us throughout the process, so we are going to do our best to speak to her points.
Yes.
Okay.
So when our team decided, we were trying to decide when we met which priority we wanted to focus on, and we thought they were all very good and important points. Looking at recruitment and retention, redesign and streamline internal processes to increase public awareness of VR services. Those are all things that certainly I know our agency in Delaware is working on all at the same time. And we kind of narrowed down to recruitment and retention. We felt that it kind of in our worlds, that is critical. If you don't have the staff to go out and do the public awareness and outreach, if you don't have the staff to employ to actually serve your folks, we feel like you really can't do as much justice to the two other points if you don't have the staff staying with you and the new folks coming in to actually serve our consumers in every state that we're trying to serve. So our topic became recruitment and retention, applying a growth mindset to address a nationwide vocational rehabilitation concern. And like we recently introduced everybody, you kind of have everyone here. Again, a big shout out to our advisor, Sharina Sewell, who's with the district director with the Capital District.
So, as you guys are all aware, recruiting for VR programs presents several significant challenges. There's a very competitive job market. Lots of people are drawing in folks that could work for the state VR programs. And so we're in competition for all of those. The staff that we employ need a very specialized skill set, and it can be difficult to find individuals that have that comprehensive skill set. It can be challenging to do that. There can be a pretty limited talent pool. The number of qualified VR counselors is pretty small, especially in some geographic regions or when serving some specialized populations. Education and certification requirements can further narrow the pool of eligible applicants. Many positions are demanding a master's degree or a rehab counseling degree or a CRC, certified rehab counselor certification. So that can limit our candidates. Our clients have a pretty complex set of needs right now, and it can be difficult to find somebody that can address all of those diverse and intricate needs. And then lastly, funding constraints often impede recruitment efforts as well. So our group looked at these challenges. We shared information about what is being done in VR programs across the country, and we focused on how we could be part of some of the solutions.
How to attract top talent in a competitive job market. We focused on looking at competitive wages, hybrid work schedules, and different hiring incentives. In a Gallup poll on recruitment and retention, they found that 1 in 2 US employees are open to leaving their organization. This same poll looked at what other types of opportunities they may have and found that 62% selected a greater work-life balance and better personal well-being, and 58% listed significantly increases their income as a reason that they may want to leave. Competitive wages are difficult to come by in the public versus the private sector, and most places only list entry-level wages without providing a better definition or transparency as to what would necessitate a higher wage within that range. There may be opportunity at your organization to offer hiring incentives such as stipends for training, stipends for certifications or recertifications, student loan reimbursement, moving reimbursement, bilingual bumps, or childcare reimbursements. One way that we know improves work-life balances are hybrid work schedules as well that allow employees to work from home and the office. That's one area that seems to really attract different types of applicants if they know that they can have a hybrid work schedule. Different polls that have been out recently have shown that hybrid workers have improved mental health, with 66% reporting better mental health due to having an increase in time for exercising, eating better, and just personal well-being to spend time with their family. Another creative way that we thought that you could list a hiring incentive is that millennials and Gen Z, who make up employees ages 43 to 16, list one of the top reasons that they choose an employer as skill development, and listing what different skills people could develop in the positions that they are applying for. We know that that age group is less loyal to their employers and probably aren't going to be staying there for as long. So what are different things that they're going to learn in this position that they could potentially move into a different position or sector? So a unique counseling experience that combines counseling with school districts, colleges, and mental health providers to provide wraparound services. Or as you grow in your role, there will be opportunities to be involved in a variety of different work groups to gain skills in writing technical specifications or creating services for state government.
Okay. Where can we look to find qualified recruits for our vacancies? Attending college resource fairs, speaking to college classes, offering referral incentives, internships. All 3 of our programs, our states and the Navajo Nation, we all offer internship experiences. With the state of Delaware, an example, we offered several internships to college students that actually led to counselor positions. One intern who was working on her bachelor's degree was hired as a transition assistant for several years. When she earned her bachelor's degree, she was then promoted to a transition counselor. The state of Wisconsin Student Diversity Internship Program is one of the many internship programs offered by a Wisconsin state government. The Division of Personnel Management, Bureau of Equity and Inclusion, administers the internship program and provides racial, ethnic minority students, female students, students with disabilities, and veteran students an opportunity to work in a professional work environment within Wisconsin state government. The program provides students with valuable work experience and training in various branches of state government and is a paid internship. With the Navajo Nation, they work with local tribal and state colleges to provide internships. The program can hire students to fill vacant positions on a temporary basis for paid internship experiences. This helps to grow their own folks that they need to hire, and they start at the student level.
So utilizing diversity, equity, and inclusion during the recruitment process is essential for building a diverse and inclusive workforce that reflects the communities and clients served by VR organizations. So how do you do that? I know Wisconsin has had several work groups to address DEI efforts at various parts of the recruitment process. And these are all things that I think that we are doing, but we can always, there's lots of opportunities to continue to do them better, differently. So we want to make sure that we are expanding our recruitment efforts across the diverse recruitment channels, making sure that our job descriptions are inclusive. Language is important, and we need to make sure that we are using appropriate language. And we also need to ensure that we are not excluding people from applying when we don't want to do that. We want to make sure our interview panels are diverse, and ideally we want to make sure that everybody on an interview panel is completing unconscious bias training. We want to be very transparent about our recruitment processes. We want to make sure that our candidates, that we're offering them support and accommodations throughout the entire process. We want to always look at ways to evaluate what we're doing. We can ask candidates, how did the interview process go for you? What are things that we could do different? And then implement those changes. And then, of course, we want to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion from within by showcasing what we are currently doing. What are our efforts? What have those results been? So let's make a little shift right now. Let's transition from talking about recruitment into talking about some retention strategies. The information on this slide is from the Technical Assistance Center for Quality Employment. So why is it important to retain VR staff? Because experienced employees who provide meaningful guidance, counseling, and services to VR participants, they're critical pieces to help individuals with disabilities be successful. There's research out there that shows that VR counselors with 5 or more years of experience have more successful employment outcomes for their consumers. And in addition, counselor burnout and high turnover decreases the VR system's ability to support people with disabilities in reaching their employment and life goals.
From the Harvard Business Review, in today's economy, skilled employees are this asset that drives organizational success. Thus, companies must learn from them why they stay, why they leave, and how the organization needs to change. Exit interviews can be a successful way to find out why people are leaving the agency. They should be done with maturity and integrity, maintaining an agenda. It's really an opportunity to find out ways that the employee thinks that there could be improvement without fear of retaliation. It also gives insights into the culture of your agency. It shows that you're committed to understanding and addressing employee concerns. You can also learn about competitors. Exit interviews should typically be done more formally. State interviews are also an important part for building trust between direct supervisors and employees. You want to hear what keeps people there. It promotes idea sharing, addresses problems in the early stages, and should be done regularly, both formally and informally during one-to-one meetings with employees. In today's day and age, we know that higher engagement leads to lower turnover. A Gallup study revealed that 71% of those surveyed believe surveys help them understand their staff culture. However, some other studies are starting to show data that might not back that up. A 2021 survey by Gartner found only 29% of employees trust their organizations with data collected through common feedback processes. And a February 2022 survey by All Voices found that only 47% of employees were fully honest when given feedback directly with HR for fear of retaliation. Additionally, it isn't the results of the survey, but what we do with those results that really matters. Simply reviewing the survey, sending out, and creating an action plan do not reduce rates of turnover, according to research. An example of a question may be, by completing this survey, do you feel that the agency will proactively do something to better the culture within VR? What is agreed upon is the importance of your middle management in these situations. One of our speakers in LeadVR discussed her role as a supervisor and how when they were not on board with change, staff would take note and changes would not be implemented effectively. There was a lot of distrust between senior leadership, middle management, and staff. That trust must be repaired before implementing agency change. Harvard Business Review notes that middle managers, as change agents, can spread the word and get people on board because they usually have the best social networks in the company and have a pulse on the emotional well-being of their employees. Senior leadership and middle management must be working together to initiate change in an agency, ideally with senior leadership developing the vision and middle management handling the process. According to a research study by Forbes, the best ways to initiate organizational change is through a back and forth tweaking of the process between senior leadership and middle management.
Okay, continuing with the theme of retention. Now that we've hired and trained really good staff, how do we continue to keep them on board with VR? Some of the things we've talked about is flexible work schedules, to have a compressed work schedule, to telework from home options, a compressed work schedule. I personally had for many years where it's something I work 4 days a week. I'm working 7:30 to 5:30, 4 days a week, and I have a day off during the week to get things done. I think this assists with the work-life balance, helps people feel like this is a job that I can continue to sustain because I'm able to manage my home commitments as well as my career commitments. Teleworking from home options, being able to work 2 days or 3 days a week from home. Once a counselor has been fully trained and is independently able to access their resources, teleworking from home is certainly something that comes up frequently as a reason people stay with VR is that option. Not every agency within the state has the option of telework, and vocational rehabilitation is one of them. It also increases the ability to hire qualified staff. When people realize that, hey, teleworking is something that is going to be a possibility once you've been a year with our program, with Delaware, it's a year, then that's something they work towards and they think, okay, I'm going to stay on board because that's going to be a huge help to me once I achieve my year probation with the state. We want to make sure that when someone is teleworking, that they're adequately supported before allowing them to telework. They need to have their resources in place. They need to have a lead counselor that they can refer to, and access to supervision if needed at that time. Employee satisfaction. Offering flexible work schedules demonstrates that employers value their employees' needs and preferences. This can lead to higher levels of job satisfaction, morale, and loyalty among staff members. Reduce commuting stress. Flexible work schedules can certainly help employees avoid rush hour traffic and reduce stress, frustration associated with daily transportation to and from the workplace, which is another plus of teleworking. Cost savings. Flexible work schedules can result in cost savings for both employees and employers. Employees save money on commuting expenses such as fuel, parking, public transportation fares. Employers may also save on overhead costs associated with office space and utilities. Talent attraction and retention. Flexible work schedules can be a valuable recruitment tool for attracting top talent. Many job seekers prioritize flexibility, and when evaluating job opportunities and offering flexible work arrangements can give employers a competitive edge in attracting and retaining skilled employees. Diverse workforce. Flexible work schedules accommodate diverse needs and preferences among employees, including those with caregiving responsibilities, disabilities, or other personal circumstances that may require accommodations. That promotes Yes, that promotes diversity and inclusivity in the workplace. Flexible work schedules can have a positive effect on employees' health and well-being, reduce stress. Environmental benefits, flexible work schedules can contribute to environmental sustainability by reducing carbon emissions and traffic congestion associated with daily commuting. Remote work and flexible scheduling options help minimize the environmental impact of transportation. Overall, flexible work schedules offer numerous benefits for both employees and employers, including improved work-life balance, increased productivity, cost savings, and enhanced employee satisfaction and retention.
Professional development is crucial in retaining VR staff and can be offered through work-sponsored trainings, conferences, and as a part of clinical supervision. Professional development should consider skill enhancement throughout an employee's career. The field of vocational rehab is constantly evolving with new technologies and practices emerging. The MIT Sloan Management Review found that organizations with robust skill enhancement programs experience lower turnover rates and higher employee loyalty. Offering professional development opportunities demonstrates to staff that there are opportunities for career advancement within the organization. This can increase motivation and job satisfaction. The Harvard Business Review found that lack of development opportunities is a primary reason employees leave their jobs. When employees do not see a path for growth and advancement, they are more likely to seek opportunities elsewhere. Also, career development is a key driver of employee engagement and retention. The Center for Creative Leadership found that employees who believe their organizations are helping them develop their careers are more engaged and less likely to leave. Engaged employees are more likely to feel connected to their work and committed to their organization's mission.
Teaming, work groups, and engagement. Some of the things that we had talked about as a group that really helps the sense of cohesion amongst the team and a sense of engagement amongst the team is to engage in the following items. One of the things we talked about, which we did in our LEAD program, is the DISC program, True Colors. It's basically assessments that our staff can take that will talk about their various strengths, weaknesses, what they're good at doing, what they might need assistance with. It helps us team people up in ways that will be creating a stronger team, and being wise when you're putting groups together, you know, put so that you're having each personality type in each group would be helpful in work groups. You have the dominance, the influence, the steadiness, the conscientious person. All of those characteristics are within the DISC. And I think the more we understand our teams and the more we're able to give assessments to our teams, that we're able to understand each other better, the better we're going to feel cohesive and understand one another. And possibly the goal is to eliminate any conflict or miscommunications that can happen when people don't understand where the other person might be coming from. Another teaming experience that we have with our teams, volunteer days. I know recently we had Earth Day and my team went out and cleaned up the area and shared snacks together and just kind of had time to visit with each other outside of the work environment. And I think those kinds of things helps build cohesion with your team, helps people feel connected, feel a sense of belonging. Just small things like that do make a difference in building your team. Remembering birthdays, life events. You know, right now we're in graduation time, so a lot of us are trying to give cards to our staff members who have children that are graduating from high school or college. Those small things, just a card, or hey, congratulations! I heard, you know, your daughter, your son, your nephew is graduating, means a lot to somebody. They feel like, wow, you really remembered, you care. Remembering someone's birthday, giving them a quick card, or even just to say, hey, happy birthday. Hope you have a great week. And I hope you feel honored and appreciated because here you are. Those kinds of things do make someone feel connected and cared about in their work environment. having a potluck meal to share a meal together as a team. I'm fortunate because my team, a lot of the folks on my team like to cook. I don't, but I'm so grateful that I do have people that like to cook. So at Christmas, we had an excellent potluck, and we have people from various cultures. So they all bring a special meal from their particular background, which makes it even more, I think, special, meaningful, educational, as well as just great to, again, have an informal way to get together to connect with one another. And it's easy to do. It's just a matter of planning it and making it happen. So our goal is to usually do it on the days that we have our team meetings, which are face-to-face meetings versus our virtual meetings. And we try to do it quarterly. Lunch is out together. We're fortunate we have a really nice break room here with tables. People sometimes will just plop down and have a salad together, have a lunch together. Doesn't have to be out at a restaurant. It can just be in your work site. Spend 10, 15 minutes with someone. Just, hey, how you doing? What'd you do last night? What's going on in your world? Outside of work, again, helps build cohesion, that engagement with each other. Having a coffee hour, office retreats. I know Delaware, our agency's had a lot of retreats, which has been excellent, motivational. Folks come in, actually our LeadVR team came in and gave our retreat that we had this year. Again, it's the whole staff traveling downstate together. That can be even a bonding event where you're in a van together with people. Having reasons to get together as a team, as a unit for the entire VR staff, as well as individually offices, I think helps people feel connected and proud of the agency they're representing. And lastly, recognition. I think to let people know and let people know in a way that's meaningful to that person what you appreciate about them. So the introverted individual might not want to be publicly recognized at a group meeting of 100 people. They might prefer, a small card or just quietly going in their office and saying, I so appreciated how you took the initiative to get this meeting together, and you handled this issue that came my way. And before I even asked you, can you assist with this? You handled it. And I just wanted to thank you. An introvert might say, this is perfect. I don't need you to do a big public recognition. Whereas somebody who's an extrovert who likes being with people, they might prefer and say, well, I felt you didn't make a public acknowledgement of what I did. So again, knowing your team and knowing what's meaningful to them can go a long way. So if you have the extrovert, they might say, hey, I love it if you tell my director or tell the whole team on our Monday morning call that I did something positive. That's meaningful to that person. So just being aware of your team and the best way to support them and to appreciate and value them, I think is an important thing to think about. Next slide. I think, Jen, you're up.
I am. I don't see the slides. Did Carolee
Oh.
leave? So
No,
I'm
she's
just gonna
there.
go
It looks
on.
I
like-
am here, but
Okay.
my
So it's the increased transparency slide.
it's
So increasing transparency in VR is essential for building trust, improving communication, and fostering accountability. A strategy that we're using in Wisconsin DVR is to make sure that everyone has access to communication from all levels of the organization. We hear monthly from DVR senior leadership on their activities and bigger picture items that are informing policy shifts. We have regular town hall meetings from the Department of Workforce Development, and they're doing the same from their perspective. In addition, our directors are providing information directly to field staff at the local level too. It's important to implement mechanisms for collecting feedback from all stakeholders, listening to that feedback and making improvements. People want to know how decisions are being made. They
did Jen now?
For Jen, yeah, somehow, Jen, we can't hear you. I don't know if somehow the mute was hit.
I don't know.
Yep, she
Something's
muted
going
herself.
on
About
with our internet.
That's
sorry about
okay.
that. Go on,
Okay.
Carolee.
Yeah.
DEI efforts are incredibly important to employees. A workforce survey poll found that nearly 80% of workers say they want to work for a company that values diversity, equity, and inclusion. And another poll said that 84% of respondents say a lack of attention on diversity and inclusion contributes to employee turnover. Kevin Price, head of inclusion and diversity at Dixon Hughes Goodman, says, remember, you want the culture on your walls to align with the culture in your halls. Things that we can do to assist this, creating policies and modifying our policy working for us, and that their opinions and diverse contributions matter to our teams. This can be tricky when we're serving the public because harassment and discrimination by job seekers to VR staff needs to be taken seriously as well. These types of interactions can lead to toxic work environments. Michelle Wernick-Brock, an attorney informing HR professionals, says that managers are required to take reasonable steps to eliminate a non-employee's discrimination or harassment. We also want to be aware of safety protocols at different sites where staff may be working and additional things that are going on in the community. So I know that in our area, if there are attacks against a certain ethnic group, racial group, those are something that I check in with staff that may belong to that group to make sure that they are feeling safe and know if I need to do something different in our local offices to help them feel safer when they're coming to work. Focusing on staff wellness is another main point that we would like to highlight for employee retention, recognizing burnout within your staff, promoting availability of employee assistance programs. In Wisconsin, we have a wellness committee, and we offer incentives through our insurance to promote wellness. We have a variety of different events that take place as part of the wellness committee. Delaware does a half an hour of walking one day a year to participate in a community program. And the Navajo Nation sponsors different wellness events that are run through the health department. Also, I have salary. So if you're wondering, does your group not like you, Carolee? I'm also wondering that right now. But my point being that salary can be really difficult to talk about. And it is not, I've never heard anyone say it's the top thing that they enjoy having conversations with their employees. But one thing that we thought was very important was increasing the transparency around salary. So our senior management and middle management saying that we are really committed to the transparency and salary. We will be looking at this every 3 years. We'll post what the different labor market comparisons are as we're moving forward on that and working on this, letting the staff know that this is something that we hear them on and that we are going to be moving forward with. Additionally, some different research from Harvard had talked about one of the big downfalls is that middle management are usually the ones that are taking these types of conversations from employees and very frequently don't understand their compensation systems themselves. And so making sure that your middle management has a good handle on what is the compensation system, what is the process for increasing wages so that they can adequately explain to their staff and there isn't that distrust that is combined by them not understanding that process as well. Also looking at years of service, increase if somebody has special skills or takes on special projects, the opportunity for training and advancement, certification reimbursement that we had talked about before, and then other things that are new that are coming out like Benefit Hub. Different programs can sign up to have different benefits for free to their employees. It comes with it's not a perfect system, I'll say. So don't buy concert tickets on Benefit Hub, but it might be something to check out as there can be discounts for like cell phone plans or different flights and resorts and things such as that.
Okay. One-on-one meetings with staff. It's a good idea to individualize your one-on-ones. Some folks might just want to have a touch base with you and say, this is what's going on in my world. Others like a more formalized meeting and they want to go through each case, or they want to talk about specific cases. I think in the beginning, when you're trying to build your team and establish a good rapport and a trust, you just want to have regular one-on-ones with your staff. Again, it's going to build trust, provide coaching when needed. If you have folks that come in and start to say, I'm having this challenge, once you've established trust, they're going to come in and ask more and more for your guidance and direction on how to handle certain circumstances that come their way. To plan is important, to have leadership planning, to provide recognition for the individuals. Sorry, bear with me here. Yeah. Okay. The meetings create a safe space for open communication where employees feel comfortable sharing their concerns, challenges, and their achievements, which is important. Sometimes as a manager, you get caught up in various things and you're not aware of maybe an achievement that one of your staff has accomplished. And to have a regular one-on-one is going to give them a chance to share what they've done. And then it gives you an opportunity to, again, turn around and praise them, whether it's publicly or privately, knowing on what works for that individual and what means the most to that individual. One-on-one meetings offer a platform for providing and receiving feedback. So as a supervisor, you want to be open to feedback. They might say, we feel you talk too much in our team meetings. I feel like the staff needs more time to talk, or we feel like we want more information to come our way about what's happening in the leadership meetings that you're attending. Can you share a little bit more information? Those kinds of things. It's important for managers to be open to receive any feedback that they're receiving from their staff. And if they have a regular one-on-one, they're going to understand a little bit more, maybe what their staff is thinking and how they can best support their staff. Let's see. They're an opportunity to discuss the employee's career aspirations and their development goals. Managers can provide guidance, support, and resources to help employees grow in their roles and advance in their careers. It's going to be something that would be meaningful to the individual. And again, the individual is going to feel like you care about their career goals and that you're not necessarily keeping them at the level they're at. If they're wanting to advance and maybe become a supervisor themselves or to be a lead counselor, if they've started out with Delaware, we have 3 levels of counselors. You're a 1, a 2, or a senior counselor. People might ask, what do I need to do to get to that next level? Getting a master's degree and meeting certain criteria. You can talk about in these one-on-ones, are there certain obstacles happening? It gives you a platform to address any obstacles for folks getting their eligibilities done, getting their plans done in a timely manner. Maybe you're getting a lot of calls about a certain counselor from the customers who are saying, hey, I want another counselor. These are areas that you can quietly address with your individual and talk about, what do you think's going on? What do you need? What might be a support I can provide for you that we can work through some of these challenges that are coming up. And then reflective supervision. Paula, who was on our team, but unfortunately couldn't attend today, she had talked about reflective supervision and some of the things that involves. It's, again, creating a comfortable environment for a person to be themselves with you as a supervisor. Some of the questions that a supervisor would be asking is, what prior experiences does the person bring to the relationship? They might say, I came from this agency and this is the type of thing I did. And then you as a supervisor can reflect back to them, I work in this agency and we share this, or maybe I have some experience that I can share with you. Understanding each other's personal learning styles, asking a person, hey, what's your personal learning style? And sharing with them what your personal learning style is as a supervisor. Again, helps build that trust and helps build that understanding with your staff. do you have any concerns about safety in your job? You know, I know recently with my team, I talked about safety in the schools. There's been various incidents that have happened in schools, fights, and people have ended up in hospitals. And I had to re-engage with my team to make sure that my transition staff are doing everything they can to make sure that they're being safe in the schools. Bringing up these kinds of topics with your staff, I think definitely gives a sense of caring and a sense of support. So one-on-one meetings are certainly an important thing to consider when managing your team.
As leaders, we want to support staff in the VR process to really empower them to make professional decisions. We want them to know that we trust them so that they can take ownership in those decisions and in our overall missions of our organizations. Some ways we could do that is to provide regular supervision and mentoring. Supervisors can offer guidance, feedback, and emotional support, helping staff navigate complex situations and improve their practice. Ensure that staff have manageable caseloads and realistic expectations regarding their workload. Facilitate peer support groups or mentorship programs where staff can connect with colleagues facing similar challenges. Ensure that staff have access to resources and tools that they need to do to perform their jobs effectively. And again, involve decision and decision-making processes that affect their work, such as program development, policy changes, and workflow improvements.
This was a word cloud, and Paula had brought up the suggestion that we should put in what LeadVR meant to all of us in some different words. So whatever is the largest word is one that was used the most frequently. And we just thought that this was a really neat way to sum up our key takeaways. In the effort of time, we will move on to the end of our presentation since we're a little bit over, and just say in summary, we realize that recruitment and retention is a top priority for all VR agencies. Are there any questions? Well, we thank you for all of your time, if there aren't any.
I have one question, actually, if it can be really quick, I promise. And my one question is, congratulations on completing your presentation. I thought it was very detailed and really nice, so thank you all for your participation. So out of all of the suggestions that you gave with regards to retention and recruitment, if you each had to pick one that you were going to intentionally work on with your leadership, which one would it be?
Know that I personally have really embraced one-on-ones. I was doing one-on-ones prior to going through this program, but I think my one-on-ones have been, I know my one-on-ones have been much more structured, and I'm really working with my staff to develop leadership plans.
Great, thank you.
I think also 30-day one-on-ones, those have right when we got back, trying to be a little bit more prepared for those and look at those. For our year plan, Jen and I have been looking at, are there policies or things that we can create to ensure the safety of staff as part of our DEI initiatives?
I know you've been talking about that since you left, so I'm looking forward to hearing more about that. You left to San Antonio. Awesome. Karen, how about you?
Yeah, for me, definitely one-on-ones. And I think, you know, I'm a new district administrator. I've been just at it 6 months. Started with one-on-ones, got caught up in various projects, and now I want to definitely get back to that regular schedule, as the girls were saying. I also loved what I learned from your program was ask the why, because that has been a big help. We've had a lot of changes this year, streamlining of processes, and staff is kind of you know, not sure why so quickly and so suddenly all this change is happening, and understanding the why, that, you know, we're being tasked to streamline our processes, that we need to have structure in place for certain things, and understanding where it's coming from has helped my team, I think, accept a lot of the change that's come our way, and we didn't always I didn't always think to ask the why, and my leadership staff has been excellent in sharing what the why is so that I can share that downward. So so that was something I took from the LeadVR, and I appreciated that. So I've been trying to incorporate it.
Awesome. Good job.
Well, I want to thank again this group, Sharina's group, and the presentation on retention and recruitment. Great information. I think you hit the nail on the head when you talked about the important role that middle managers play in building trust in an organization, and why it's so important for us as leaders to really directly engage middle managers in the conversation, whether it's with change, morale, motivation, or any effort that's being pushed from leadership. That is so important that we take time to have those conversations directly with the staff who will be most impacted, who will be implementing and ensuring that the counselors, the administrative staff are fully engaged. Again, thank you, and we appreciate you. Thank you to the leadership from Delaware, Wisconsin, who have joined us today and in support. We truly appreciate you being here. We think this is a great opportunity, even if some of these ideas are not picked up. This is an opportunity to have a deeper conversation with the participants and engage them in a different kind of way, perhaps get diversity of voices at the table with any other change management effort that are happening in your agencies. Again, thank you, Sharina and team. And we're going to take a quick break. It's going to be 5 minutes, and we're going to come back and have our presentation from David Leon's faculty group. I'm going to share my screen real quick, and well, I'll just say, let's go ahead and take that break, and then we'll come back. All right, next up, we have a presentation on employer engagement, and this will be with faculty group led by David Leon. Those participants include Gretchen Hunt Newton from Arkansas General, Cheryl Harris from Arkansas Blind, Scott Say or Jeff Say from Arkansas Blind, Selena Klein from Montana, and Jeff Gaylor from Oklahoma. I'm going to turn it over to that group now.
Thank you. Good morning or afternoon actually now. I just wanted to let you all know that Robin graciously and our team allowed us to have our Deputy Commissioner, Joseph Baxter, and Nathan Winter and Shatay Walker. Actually, Shatay and Nathan were on yesterday. We did a practice round, and Commissioner hopefully will look at the recording. And I'm the Business Engagement Director from Arkansas.
Good afternoon. I'm Cheryl with Arkansas Blind. Scott and I both are with Arkansas Blind. And we have 3 guests today. We have our Assistant Director, Dr. Megan Lamb, our Rehab Program Manager, Rhonda Gorman, and our Staff Development Coordinator, Dianette Finks. I want to thank them for joining us today.
Hi, my name's Jeff Gaylor. I'm a programs manager for the Oklahoma State Department of Rehab. Unfortunately, my person wasn't able to make it due to a family emergency, but it was going to be Melissa Proctor, who has been my mentor and supervisor at my department.
Hello, my name is Selena Klein. I'm a VR counselor supervisor in the state of Montana. There was a partner here named Sherry Reed Anderson, who is a business service lead for the state of Montana. She may jump back on. There's a lot of stuff going on today, but just if you notice her, come on.
And Selena, I
Okay.
think she is on. She's joined back.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started, and we are going to be discussing business engagement. And so you may ask, what does business engagement look like? Well, to us, it is best described as a piece of a puzzle or the egg that is added to cake mix. Basically, it is the element that connects clients, businesses, counselors, quality assurance, and WIOA partners together. Today, my colleagues and I are going to describe what it means by mixing the ingredients of the vocational rehab agencies represented in our group. We want to help you understand the who, what, why, and how of business engagement. So we created a SWOT analysis of the things that we all have in common. And the thing that we decided was one of our strengths is that we have a growth mindset and that we all fundamentally believe that our client is our human capital, that they possess skills, knowledge, and experiences that are needed by our business customers. The weaknesses that we all shared in common was the lack of data and collaboration between different parts of our agencies, and that our agencies were extremely policy heavy. The opportunities for growth, we decided that we could develop a metric to measure outcomes for our business engagement teams. The threats that, unfortunately, we all do have threats, right? We decided that we do not have the younger skilled workforce that our business customers are looking for. We have numerous unfilled positions across our agencies. And in our agencies, it seems like we have a difficulty in making change happen because of bureaucracy. Okay, I'm going to start by telling a little story about General Mills. And in the 1950s, they developed the Betty Crocker instant cake mixes. These cake mixes had all of the dry ingredients that was needed, the powdered milk, the eggs, and all the consumer needed to do was add water. You would think this would be an instant winner, but it was not. The CEOs of General Mills were so perplexed why it didn't work that they brought in psychologists to figure out how to solve this problem. And those psychologists interviewed numerous consumers all over the country, and they overwhelmingly stated that they did not feel the connection of creating something wonderful. In other words, they didn't feel as if they were a part of something. General Mills went back to the drawing board and they revised the product, and they allowed the consumer to put in the eggs and the water. And we know from going in our shelves in our home and in stores that they made the right decision because it did become a success. This story, the simple story, has the potential to demonstrate a powerful lesson to us today. Just like each ingredient of a cake must be utilized, each part of our agency needs to be utilized to become a part of something greater. Thank you for your time and listening to the introduction, and I'd like to turn it over to Jeff from Oklahoma.
Thanks, Gretchen. Hi, everyone. As we've introduced ourselves already, my name is Jeff Gaylor. I'm with Oklahoma VR. Kind of building on Gretchen's example there, if successful business engagement is like baking a cake, then my staff and I in my part of Oklahoma have been doing it from scratch and without a recipe for quite a while now. We're in a very interesting situation down here. But kind of starting out, I'd like to start with Oklahoma State WIOA plan. It's already outlined several goals and objectives for our partners. And if we look at the center goal there, strengthening public education's focus on career readiness outcomes. I know that it might seem a bit at odds to focus on that when we're talking about business engagement, and that deals with public education. But as you'll see, as I said, we're in a very unique situation that this is going to be a really important driving point for us, I think, in the coming years, even after all the changes we've seen in the past few years, especially from COVID, as the first group, mentioned. Moving on from here, let's discuss a little bit the layout of what this looks like, what business engagement looks like in Oklahoma. Specifically, vocational rehab and business engagement are completely separate units. Business engagement for us, we call it business services. And it consists of one supervisor along with 4 liaisons who cover our entire state. So our section is called the Southern section, and it's a whole quadrant of the state. That's a pretty large area, obviously. Now, there's some good and some bad news regarding this situation for us. Starting with some bad news is that our business liaison position has been vacant now for more than 3 years. So we haven't had anyone to even do that. It's been kind of on the counselors and myself to handle that. Some good news is we recently got a new business liaison, so we have a person. However, we're going to circle back around again, just a little bit of bad news. She's brand new to both vocational rehabilitation and business engagement. So it's going to be kind of an uphill battle with this, but I think we can help each other out as she comes on. So for my side of it, the VR side in my area, it consists of me and 8 counselors and then some support staff. This whole last year has been a big rebuilding year for us. And so my staff is pretty evenly split into about half brand new to VR in situations where, and some of them are still completing their degrees, and the other half are seasoned veterans. So my seasoned staff, my experienced staff, they remember business services from many, many years ago, but it's been so long, I'm sure they're rusty. And also the world's changed so much since then, right? But also my new staff, they don't have any experience with business services or business engagement. So it's going to be a completely new experience for them. Now, in researching for this presentation, I discovered some interesting information that statewide applications from applicants who are currently in high school or in secondary education, the statewide average is about 47.6%. So about half, a little bit less than half. Now, when you focus into my unit, that number jumps dramatically all the way to 68.7%, which means that nearly 7 out of 10 of our applicants in my area are actually coming from our schools right now. Which blew my mind when I heard that for the first time. It was fascinating. So, now that we know that, let's kind of look at the areas. My area of Southern Oklahoma specifically is extremely rural. It's also very heavily focused on the employment market, I should say. The economies are heavily focused on things like manufacturing, oil, natural gas, and distribution of service or products. Now, in a lot of cases, there might be 1 or 2 major factories or things like that in one of our communities that provides the majority of the jobs for that community. Now, when those distribution centers go away or go under, it's a huge impact. So a good example is recently a local town was hit by a tornado, and it destroyed specifically a distribution center and their grocery store. So that put those people in a real bind, and we're still struggling with that right now. So that kind of gives you an idea, lots of physical manual labor. And if any of those places go under, then it's a lot more difficult for our people there. Moving on, the kind of question really is going to be, what is my plan? How am I going to leverage these different unique situations? Well, starting out, since we have a new business liaison and quite a few of my staff who are experienced, I want them to go out and have shared field days. I want them to be out in the communities with my people. Sure, they can do it on their own, but I think it's going to be much more effective to have them with my people who have been in those communities. Even the newer ones have been doing this for many, many months now. So they're familiar with these communities. A lot of my people obviously live in those communities. This person's going to be starting from scratch. Shared field days are going to build our agency relationships within, and it's going to build those employer relationships. I mean, who better knows about the local labor markets and employers in a community than, say, a VR counselor who's going to be aware of those major employers. And also, based on those stats that you heard earlier about, 7 out of 10 apps coming from our high schools, one of the things I want my VR counselors to be emphasizing with this business liaison is going to be transition seniors and people exiting career tech programs. As we saw with the WIO state plan, that's a major focus for us in this state. So we've got a lot of new programs, especially in the career techs, that are changing things dramatically. So another metric that I want to use is I want to have quarterly meetings, at least quarterly meetings. I'm kind of being conservative with that right now, but I'd probably like to increase that, honestly, with the program manager for our business services unit. So supervisor and supervisor getting together to talk about what our people are doing, how they're coordinating. That'll allow us to address any kind of issues. And it'll allow me to get better information on kind of what's been happening in maybe the greater regional or statewide economy from this business services program manager. In the end, it's going to be able to allow us to focus the services for business. It's going to allow us to focus business services where they're needed the most in my communities, which is young people. As Gretchen mentioned earlier, one of the things in our SWOT that we identified was that our businesses are needing young people to work. We have lots of young people who are needing jobs. It's kind of a match made in heaven, right? So we just have to get our business services connected to that. So with all that, I'd like to thank everybody for your time. I'd now like to introduce Selena Klein. She's from Montana DPHHS, and she's going to discuss a counselor's perspective on business engagement in her state.
Thanks, Jeff. So again, my name is Selena and I work for the state of Montana. I've been with Montana for about 10 years. I am also part of the business engagement team here in Montana that came about around, I think, 2016 due to the WIOA changes that we now need to start treating businesses also as we treat our clients and provide those services. The current structure in Montana for business engagement is on our team, we have 2 leads in the state of Montana. One person serves the west side of the state and the other serves the east side of the state, Sherry Reed, who's on the Zoom meeting right now. In our state, we have 9 offices. So how it kind of works with the business engagement team, there is somebody who represents business engagement out of each one of those offices. Now, just to remind you guys that also currently those counselors that are serving on the business engagement team also carry a caseload anywhere from 80 to maybe 120 at this point. So it's been kind of interesting how the VR counselors are playing the dual role as business engagement. And so I'm just going to kind of give some of the pros and cons in our current structure and how I feel like going forward, it would be good practice to be able to separate the two, such as some of the other states having a separate service business team. However, for Montana, to be able to get EFTs to produce some of those additional jobs might be difficult. But currently under the structure, counselors playing that dual role, I think is a struggle to be able to have that one-on-one service that businesses need to build that relationship. And some of that has to do with the lack of outreach too. Not because people aren't doing outreach, but our area is so big to serve. So just a little tidbit about Montana. It's 145,509 square miles. The service area that I serve is about 900 square miles. And we like to refer to distances as hours. So the farthest service area that I serve is about 6 hours away. So managing a caseload, being a counselor supervisor, and playing the business service role can be difficult. However, the pro to some of this is a counselor might have better connections in those rural areas where the business service team may not be able to reach. And then with that better connection, a lot of times natural supports are put in place. And so you're playing a dual role with the client and the business and creating a collaborative relationship. Another one of the cons would be after a client is placed, a lot of times there's not a lot of follow through with the business or the client to make sure that everything's going okay, the client's still showing up on time, maybe there's some accommodations that are needed, those sorts of things. But again, counselors playing this role also build a relationship with the clients and maybe have the ability to place them in jobs that are related to their skills interest. But I believe if the two are separate and then the counselor could really focus on the client and then the employer engagement specialist could focus on the business, you would have better outcomes because I think you would have better direct and ongoing contact with the employers, which we now know building that relationship is effective in getting consumers placed in jobs. Also, I think the need for professional and expert information on labor market information would be beneficial too. So if business engagement had more time to gather that information and be able to share it with counselors, we would be able to better place clients. I think too, the collaboration is very important. And I think we found that out talking to each other, whether you combine the VR counselor playing the dual role versus, having a separated business engagement team, that the collaboration as far as having monthly, quarterly, or weekly information passed down and shared about what's going on in the business world. And I think that was a big talking point that me and Gretchen really agreed that needs some improvement across the states. And just knowing what those employment opportunities, I think being a VR counselor and you're so focused on the client that you oftentimes don't see the bigger picture, and having someone separated from that would be able to expand more on opportunities that are out there. Also, the whole being able to spread that VR is the best secret, having someone be able to focus more on that, and also having that relationship with employers and coming up with like recognition awards and those sorts of pieces to keep employers invested in VR. So unlike Jeffrey and Oklahoma, I don't feel that Montana has started from scratch. However, I feel like we're still missing a few ingredients to the cake, so we might be a little gooey. And from my perspective is maybe we're just not utilizing all of the ingredients of our cake. And so when I think of the ingredients, I think of our resources. And since we are not just rural, but pretty frontier, so we really need to utilize everybody in this process. And I think consumers being the one, but we have to start looking at businesses as being also our number one partner, because that's how our consumers are going to get jobs. And I think about like the increase of caseloads with youth. Are we utilizing programs like the WIOA youth programs or the summer youth programs? What kind of creative activities or ideas are we doing with our partners to increase opportunities? And back to data, how are we showing that business engagement is working? I think also working in this group, we found out that data has become quite difficult to gather, and just doing that a quality assurance piece. Are we doing the best that we can to make sure that we're getting consumers jobs? Also working with our business engagement team, having better collaboration with the counselors. But I do feel like all the stakeholders, if we're working together, whether we become, or we say how we are in Montana, or we try to separate it, that collaboration will be the key to filling in those gaps. Because again, we're serving rural, but we're also serving frontier. So how do we all work together to make sure the whole state is being covered? And that's what I got for Montana.
Good afternoon. My name is Cheryl Harris. I'm the Quality Assurance Manager with the Division of Services for the Blind. When VR agencies think of quality assurance, case reviews usually come to mind. Yes, that is one of the QA unit's responsibilities. Another responsibility is disseminating customer service satisfaction surveys to obtain consumer feedback regarding services, equipment, and training. Most VR agencies do not associate business engagement with quality assurance. I'm going to discuss how to bridge that gap using surveys. Quality assurance is an untapped resource at DSB. As I discuss the following slides, think to yourselves, how can my agency utilize QA to foster and increase the relationship between quality assurance and business engagement? In collaboration with business engagement, quality assurance can create business engagement surveys tailored to specific industries and regions, as well as the training and skills required by the employer to fill positions within their company. The surveys may also assist the counselors with job placements. The information obtained from the surveys can help counselors identify customers with KSAs to apply for jobs customized within the company. The surveys can ask open-ended questions requiring the employer to provide more than one-word responses. For example, what areas or departments have openings? What are you looking for in an applicant? Does the applicant have to have a certification? If so, what type of certification and why? The feedback captured by QA through case reviews and surveys is a generalized approach used to identify the bullet points in our SWOT analysis. The SWOT analysis coincides with the models recognized in this slide. This second slide shows how QA uses surveys to check the boxes to identify strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. This project allowed the QA team to think outside the box, explore other opportunities to utilize surveys, and show the vantage point of QA at DSB. Tracking the data will allow QA to evaluate the progress and assess performance of business engagement and the counselors. Today, we present opportunities, not solutions, to share how QA can track data for business engagement and other areas of the agency. Once the ingredients are blended, QA sets the timer for the end results. Before I close, I want to end with this thought. The QA unit at DSB follows the WIOA system evaluation by monitoring performance measures and working to correct deficiencies. The QA unit conducts case reviews and consumer satisfaction surveys to measure local performance on specific metrics with performance improvement plans put in place as necessary to target improvements. Next is my team member, Scott.
Hello, I'm Scott C. I'm the QA auditor for Arkansas Division Services for the Blind. In 1920, a journalist asked Thomas Edison how it felt to fail 10,000 times in his attempt to invent the light bulb. His reply was, "I did not fail 10,000 times. I just found 10,000 ways not to invent the light bulb." When a consumer is placed with an employer for their dream job, this may or may not work out. Looking at the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics Employee Tenure Survey, the average person stays with their employer 4.1 years. As you can see, this varies in different industries. To quote the movie, We Bought a Zoo, you know, sometimes all you need is 20 seconds of insane courage, just 20 seconds of insane bravery, and I promise you something great will happen. Use that 20 seconds of insane bravery to think outside of the box for employment. We may not find that perfect puzzle piece with the first placement, but we have not failed. We will find if that piece is a match or not. This is where the surveys that Cheryl talks about comes into play for all parties. As we dissect the data from employers to consumers and counselors and use that 20 seconds of insane bravery, we will find the puzzle pieces that fit the businesses and the consumers for the long term.
Thank you, Scott. So Betty Crocker gave the consumers an easy-to-use product that revolutionized the way that we bake our cakes. In the same way, VR would like to give our clients the possibilities to live independent independent and productive lives. VR opportunities can best be accomplished when we add together all of the ingredients. Those ingredients would be the cake mix, which would represent the client, the water field services, eggs business engagement, icing our WIOA partners, and the oven would be quality assurance. In our opinion, leaving out any ingredient takes away the recipe for success. We would like to thank all of you this afternoon for patiently listening to our presentation and ask if there are any questions or feedback.
I had a statement.
Yes.
Mecca. I think it was Jeff. I think you mentioned, I think it was you, when you were talking about employer engagement, you were talking about shared field days with VR staff. Is that something that you all are currently doing, or is that something you're hoping to implement? Because I really like the idea of that. And you listed it under employer engagement, but I mean, in terms of the working relationship of our internal partners and just having a better understanding of what everyone does, I think is really helpful. So is that something you guys are currently doing, or are you hoping to do that where you are?
Yeah, so that's not something we're doing as far as I'm aware. Like I said, in my area, we haven't had a liaison for so long. We're not aware, but I've asked around and no one else is and doing that, so that's going to be a whole new thing. And I've actually wanted to expand that even farther than business engagement, though that was just the topic for this presentation. But no, we're not currently doing it.
Okay, thank you.
Serena, can I speak into that? We do that in Arkansas. And so what we do, we will invite our field counselors out and we will just go on company tours so they can kind of understand the culture of the business that we're trying to get our clients in. It kind of gives them a better insight of kind of when we go back with the functional job description and we're saying they have to be able to do this. These are the expectations of the business. It just gives them an insight and foresight as to why we're saying this is what they're expecting after we make accommodations. So we do. It's a good practice.
That's great. Thank you.
Hi, and this is Selena. I just want to add to this conversation. In Montana, I know at times too, we have actually even done this with our community resource providers to go meet with businesses together to kind of let the businesses understand those rules between the difference. Because a lot of times what was happening, we go back to that, how VR is the best kept secret, right? So a lot of times the CRPs were at the forefront meeting with these businesses to try to, get work experiences going for youth or what be it. But anyway, to kind of make that connection and kind of help the CRPs too, to guide them to better business services.
I'd like to just add for this group, it's been wonderful to watch you work on this and having a role related to employer engagement in Virginia. I'm taking two ideas we had not done, which is adding surveys and a QA sort of approach, not just for those placements that are current, but adding some leading questions about prospecting for other openings that the individual was placed might know about as they learn the business. But I also want to share, I was really impressed to see how you looked at this from a combined state plan perspective, from a counselor view, all the different views. And then lastly, the level of customer service you provided each other in working on this project and your willingness to do this yesterday so that Gretchen, your leaders could see this is what I hope all of the participants we serve experience. And I want to thank you for modeling that in your work together.
I echo what David has just said. Some great ideas in this presentation, great resources that you've shared, and really like to see how you have built upon one another's agency's strengths and also brought out how you can all improve in this area of employer or business engagement and using a growth mindset, thinking outside the box. Great information. Thank you all for sharing. We are due for another break. So we will be back at 1:30 Central Time. So you have 8 minutes. Thank you. I'm going to say welcome back. We are getting ready for our next presentation, and this will be from the faculty group led by Veronica Jackson. This one is Empower Connecticut, Process Improvement for Employee Morale and Retention. All of the participants in this faculty group are from Connecticut. Amy, Rannon, Ruth, and Maureen, and I specifically avoided saying your last names because I didn't want to butcher them. So at this time, I will turn this presentation over to the Connecticut group.
Give me a second while I navigate this. Okay, can you see my screen now? Okay.
Yes.
Great.
Thank you, Amy. Hi, everyone. So I will be starting off our presentation today. Again, my name is Randy Marconi, and I am the supervisor, one of the supervisors of the Department of Aging and Disability Services, Bureau of Rehabilitation Services. And we also have Amy, Maureen, and Ruth, who also participated in LeadVR, who will be talking about their piece as we move along. So before we begin, I just wanted to thank everyone to provide us the opportunity to allow us to be part of the LeadVR team. Before I begin, I would like to thank our management team for being here today, which hopefully everybody is on. This includes our director, Dave Dokas, our bureau chiefs, Kathleen Marciani and George Mishna, and our regional directors, Cindy Raphael, Allison Copey, and Jess Cornell. We also want to thank Veronica Jackson, who has been our faculty advisor throughout the process. And again, we are the State of Connecticut VR program, and today's presentation will focus on empowering staff. So our team has developed a vision for Connecticut VRS, and the vision is Empower Connecticut, process improvement for employee morale and retention. Our mission statement for Empower CT is building trust, respect, and opportunity for professional growth to enhance morale in the workplace. So how did we choose our topic? After watching Minnesota VR for the Blinds presentation, this slide hit home for us. When we first were presented with this slide, we read each question. Was the answer yes or no? If any were no, there was work to be done. In that moment, we realized we did not seem to understand our own workplace culture, as we were not able to honestly answer yes to the questions to all 5. Take a moment to briefly review the 5 questions to yourself and think about your own answers. Did you answer yes to any of them? Just going to give you guys a moment to take a look. We see the need to improve in this area as it encompasses increasing morale, trust, and respect within the workplace. So how do we implement the right strategies to better understand where we are at as an agency and how can we improve? First, we need to get a baseline of where we're at. This will help us determine where we need to improve within our work culture. The areas we're going to address today include employee engagement surveys, stay interviews, exit interviews, transparency, and communication. Knowing our work culture will help us improve and better understand our staff and how they are feeling about their jobs. We need to be transparent in sharing information, even if it's uncomfortable. People want to know the good, the bad, and the ugly of what's going on. By sharing what is truly going on will help everyone feel they're part of the big picture and not kept out of the loop. By sharing as much as we can, this will ensure our staff are feeling supported and respected. It is important for staff to know the why and why decisions are made and how they will impact us. We do have a survey that we had provided to staff back in February 2023. We are working on small wins so far to help staff be able to complete their jobs more efficiently. A few of the cons that we've seen so far are that even though we've shared some of the results of the survey from 2023, the information was limited and lost over time. We're also not sharing our plan for action. How do we want to implement strategies to improve our agency? We're not getting feedback from staff on their reactions of the survey answers. Here are some recommendations that we have to improve this area. This will help us understand our baseline and improve how our agency functions, helping staff build confidence within their roles, which in turn will result in improved staff morale, trust, and overall performance. We want to share results within a reasonable time frame and referencing back to it throughout the year. We need to allow staff to take risks and share their ideas to build their confidence. We can evaluate the surveys using a Net Promoter Score so staff are better able to understand where our work culture is in that moment. Completing these surveys on a more consistent basis, such as annually. Identifying change champions. We have started doing this through building various work groups, but allowing the staff involved to share with the agency the purpose of the work groups and what actions will be taken to improve our agency. Checking in with field staff or counselors on a more consistent basis from the CEO field. This communication area is lacking.
Okay, so I am going to talk about state interviews. I'm Maureen Warnecki, and I'm a supervisor here with BRS in Connecticut. So I'm going to start by telling a little bit of a personal story. So this is about why we want to do stay interviews. So back in 2018, 2019, our agency went through a really tough time and a time of high attrition. Our budget was impacted around the same time, and there were concerns that we would not be able to have the funds if we didn't make drastic changes. During this time, caseload sizes became extremely high. Counselors became more of case managers than counselors. And at that time, I was considering other employment. But what kept me at our agency was our director came out to our regions. He spoke to the counselors in the groups and individually. Being heard as a counselor who was going through a rough patch gave me hope and made me want to stay. So why stay interviews? They're for engagement and retention. Right now, we've been experiencing a high turnover of staff. And that's really a reoccurring theme from back when I was going through it. It takes a toll on employee morale to see this turnover due to high caseloads again, training of new staff only to have them leave. There's a long onboarding process, and we're left with many unassigned cases. Engagement. So engagement is truly influenced by our leadership quality. Engagement must start with us as a leadership team. I spent a good amount of time reading through the Power of State interviews. And it's a book that was written. And part of the book said that strong supervision and plus effective employee programs equals high retention, whereas weak supervision and effective employee programs ends up with high employee turnover. So how do we change that? We have to build trust between employees and management. This helps to build confidence in employees. It helps, and that's through different personal interactions on a daily basis. So what is a stay interview? So I'm just going to read this. This is a direct quote from that book. It is a structured discussion a leader conducts with each individual employee to learn specific actions that the leader must take to strengthen the employee's engagement and retention within the organization. So the power of stay interviews is that employees hear directly from their supervisors that they care and they want them to stay. Management accepts that retention and engagement are within their sphere of responsibility. Employees are more likely to accept responsibility for staying, and stay interviews build trust. So I think that this leads to a much larger conversation around how to do stay interviews, what they should look like, but here are some specific ideas. So creating customized stay plans for employees, for individual employees. Leaders should first experience the stay interviews. So really starting with, our leadership team and then cascading down. So our, upper management, our consultants, our regional directors, supervisors, and down to counselors and support staff. These should always be conducted in person. We should set expectations at the beginning of the meeting, schedule appropriate amounts of time for the meeting, keep this very separate from individuals' performance. Don't send any questions ahead of time so that can be more of an impromptu discussion. Although you'll have some ideas of the questions you're going to be asking. And then script openings. Just wanted to give some example of questions that can be asked would be, what do you look forward to each day when you come to work? What are you learning here and what do you want to learn? Why do you stay here? When was the last time you thought about leaving us and what prompted it? And what can I do? What can I do to make your job better for you? Just to end this, I started doing some of this, just asking questions with some of my staff, not an official stay interview, but it was really eye-opening and it really was good news. So I think that, we need to be open to it and be able to kind of plan around it. That's it for me. Ruth, you're up.
Sorry, was on mute. So I was talking and finished, but either way, I will be talking about exit interviews, Ruth Carvalho, with my coworkers from BRS Connecticut. So as exit interviews, I picked the subject because I feel it's just as important as a stay interview. We have to understand why people are choosing to leave VR, and in some instances are highly educated folks that took the time to be educated and pay for education. An exit interview is a final conversation between an employee and an employer before the employer leaves an organization. So what I did was I tried to pick the brain of our HR department a little bit and try to get as much information as they were willing to share. And what you see on the slide is the information that they were able to share with me for BRS's process. So an employee gets a survey, a link, a confidential survey link that they can choose to participate in or not. The results are entered into their confidential HR file, I'm sorry, and the reason for leaving is shared with management. What management level? I'm assuming higher management. I've never seen an exit interview result. And then further, the quote from HR was only a few BRS employees that have left in the last year have completed a survey. So if we look at the definition of exit interviews and talk about a conversation, the conversation isn't being really had. It's a choice an employee has, but so important because we can assume why an employee leaves, but until we ask, we won't know. And if we ask, then we can try and start fixing why an employee decides to leave, from an employee who has been with us for 3 years to one who has been with us for 20 years. So we have a wide range of people, I mean, I think nationwide leaving VR.
Okay, I'll bring up transparency and communication. Amy Heisman, I'm a supervisor in our southern region. Sorry about that. Let me pull up our slide again. Hold on there. Trying to manage all this, folks. Here we go. Okay. So let me see if I can get this pulled up properly for everyone. Okay. So when we're looking at transparency and communication, what we first want to look at is changing our narrative, how we explain our actions or define ourselves to ourselves, as well as others outside of our agency. Our agency, as we know, has been going through several programmatic and staffing changes for some time. And those changes have been ramping up in the more recent years. We've heard at times that we're building our plane while we're flying it. And to be honest, no one wants to be flying on a plane that's being built. It's an uncomfortable place to be for our staff, to not see the ground and wonder if we're going to land correctly. We need to land that plane and be prepared to build a strong foundation through our communication with our team. How much information do we share, with our staff? And when do we share it and how do we share it? It's been a conversation we've had over time, and understanding what is best to share and what not. So we do need to share the good, the bad, and the ugly. We do need to share the why. And I think that's a common theme for a lot of us, the why we're doing what we're doing. We also need to share the how we're doing what we're doing. How is that process going to go? What is it looking like? What's our plan? What's our plan of action? Some of the things we've considered about how to communicate out these ideas: consultants attending our monthly supervisors meeting on a rotating or a quarterly basis. Work group data, as far as providing update staff and information as far as our work groups, what those work groups are doing, and report outs for them. Providing an updated organizational chart and staff directory to the field. Who does what, how to reach staff, who to go to if that particular staff person's out. Provide meeting notes from extended leadership, supervision, and our staff meetings. I do want to recognize we recently learned that some of this information actually was going to be shared out statewide at our upcoming statewide annual meeting. So these were some of the recommendations we have in that. It's one of those things, one of the thoughts we had too was sharing that information more frequently versus, on an annual basis, but sharing it more either quarterly or more frequently. And trusting that the staff will use that information appropriately. Heard earlier that there's no way we cannot overshare, over communicate with our staff. So other areas for consideration when we talk about transparency and communication is to continue to stress and promote diversity and inclusion throughout our agency. Looking at our RSA requirements versus our BRS policy. This is something we learned about in talking with one of our consultants, why sometimes our policy is one way, RSA requirements may say something different, but we're looking at our policy. So looking at our policy in ways that we can potentially change it, update it to better serve our consumers, possibly bringing back our streamlining work group to support that process. Training opportunities, explore training on boosting morale in the workplace. We have access to Yes LMS courses and recently a track for morale, building morale was added to that. But we need to encourage staff to use training opportunities and to encourage them to take the time because of staff workloads right now. I think people feel a little bit that they're prevented or don't have the time to take options with training, but we need to encourage them to do that and give them as management teams those opportunities. Field time, if you want to call this, as Maureen shared earlier, those opportunities have our management come out to the field. I do recall also when our director came out, and it makes a difference. So whether it be our director and other management staff to be more involved with our frontline staff, to be in the field, to hear directly from whether it's the counselors or support staff, what they're experiencing, what they're seeing in the field. Consider either coffee hour or town hall time to share information with our team. Those would be helpful as well. So to come out, talk with staff, get a pulse on what's going on for each office. This does serve to build relationships with both the seasoned staff as well as our new staff, who we have a lot of coming on board. Trust and confidence empowers people to work as a team and to stretch themselves in new directions. Trust and confidence in ourselves and others requires a strong foundation. With a strong foundation, we can continue to build our agency and weather changes as they come. A strong foundation encourages those present within the agency to stay and the new people to come on board and move in. A strong foundation is empowering. So we want to conclude with, let's empower Connecticut BRS to be the agency that we all know we can be. We also look to continue our discussion as a LeadVR team with our management. So thank you for joining us today. And if you have any questions.
Thank you, Connecticut BRS team, Empower CT. Any questions from any of the participants or a management team from Connecticut? Go ahead, Dave. Oh, you're muted.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for doing your presentation today. I really appreciate the amount of effort that you put into this and thought. As you mentioned, there's the statewide meetings coming up. There was a few things embedded within your presentation that I was certainly going to address. Have an intent to head out to the regions again to visit every office over the upcoming months. So I'm in total agreement with you on that and a lot of the other things that you talked about. One question I had for you was right back to Rannon's part of the presentation. involved about staff not taking risks or feeling that they're uncomfortable in taking risk. I got to ask, what kind of risks are they not comfortable in taking, and what's what areas are they really feeling that in?
I guess it's more around policies and procedures with specific services. Sometimes there's some unclear information or they're not getting what they need from CO or not getting information to proceed forward. Personally, I've been working directly with my regional director and a counselor to work on several things such as getting new vendors in place and what that entails to think outside the box to help consumers with certain services that we don't traditionally do. So some counselors aren't going above and beyond to advocate for their consumers because they feel like they're not going to get the support. So it's having us as a team, supervisors, RDs, management staff saying, hey, if there's something that's preventing a consumer from being successful in the job and it's something we haven't done before, let's explore it further and see how we can help them. So that's a bit more general. I can get more into the nitty gritty, but overall, that's what that meant.
Thank you, Rana.
Yep.
One of the things that I love about John Connolly is he's always challenging our LeadVR participants to take risk. And we always call upon the curriculum from the Leadership Challenge as well, which encourages leaders to take risks. So it's become more or less a hallmark of our LeadVR program to encourage middle managers to do more of that risk taking. I'm glad to see that in your presentation today. I saw a lot of similar recommendations from earlier presentations. And so this really speaks to the value of those surveys, especially those stay interviews, those exit surveys, which all builds in to what you started out with, that focus on knowing your workplace culture. Thank you again to the Connecticut team. Thank you especially to the leadership team for being here today. Great job, great information. Any words, comments, Veronica, before we go to break?
Yes, I was waiting. Thank you, Team Connecticut. Empower Connecticut. I hope someone extra special who's in the room right now hears that and takes that forward, because that's beautiful. Thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of your team. Although I knew you before, I know you so much better now. So I encourage you to keep working together to utilize the team that you have created at LeadVR to move some of these pieces forward. Where there is clarity of vision, there is excellence towards the goal. So much of that transparency, the clarity, the sharing of information, that's really what's important when we're trying to build a team that trusts one another and is willing to take those risks. So I appreciate you for growing with me, for sharing so much of your stories with me, and I look forward to hearing more. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Veronica. It looks like we have a break now, and we come back at 2:10 Central Time. We'll see you then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we are back for our final presentation, and this is from the faculty group led by John Conley. The participants are Ashley from New Hampshire, Priyanka Sharma from New Hampshire, Hotona from New Mexico, different new, and April Baca from New Mexico. The two presentations that we have from this group are on retention strategies, and the other presentation is productivity improvement of eligibility determination. So we are looking forward to hearing your presentations. So I'm going to turn it over to the John Conley faculty group. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. It's nice to see you all again. I did want to note, oh, I'm sorry, April from New Mexico. I don't know if y'all remember, but I did want to note that Hatona and I invited supervisors, Some of our directors, they're either in bigger meetings or on vacation right now. So unfortunately, there's nobody from New Mexico, but we are going to pass along this information. So let me share a presentation. Oh, is this working? Maybe.
It is working. It's
Okay.
not in presenter mode. Now we see it, but it shows your notes or preview. It's in the preview mode now.
How do I? Oh, no. I don't know why. Sorry, everybody. There we go. Better? Okay. So Hatona and I are with DVR in New Mexico, and we are presenting on retention strategies across the state. We've noticed it's been some issues, so we just want to talk a little bit about the mission of DVR. So here with New Mexico Division of Vocational Rehab, our mission is committed to ensuring that every New Mexican with a disability achieves employment goals and thrives in their communities. So staff all across the agency work together in providing our direct rehab services. This includes guidance and counseling, resume development, job search placement assistance, training programs, post-secondary education, sometimes the help with purchasing assistive technology, supported employment services, supports in starting small business plans, and of course, transition services. So these are what we're considering some of the factors that are affecting retention: leadership, advancement opportunities, culture within DVR, engagement, and recognition within the agency. So I did ask for some data across the agency. We didn't get concrete retention numbers, but Hatona and I were able to work within our areas and get some numbers in our reflective areas that we work in. So of the 16 positions within New Mexico's DVR, Area 7, which is my area, there has been 8 instances where a position's been left vacant for some period of time over the past year, which is half of our positions. And similarly in Area 2, which is where Hatona works, of the 17 positions, there's been also 8 instances of vacancy. And it's a big, it causes a lot of effect within DVR, these retention rates. So we're going to go a little bit more in depth on the factors affecting retention. We're starting with leadership, and I'm going to let Hatona hop in and talk about this slide.
Hello, everyone. It's nice to see you again. When we created this PowerPoint presentation, we should have noted our names. We should have noted our directors and our managers. And I apologize for not emphasizing that. And because that is important, because they are our leaders. And myself as a leader, we were just kind of going through the motions, I guess. And because we do have a lot of vacancies in our areas, we do have to cover vacant caseloads and other areas that we are needed in. So I'm going to go into leadership. So I'm going to go with just indicating that, you know what, people quit managers and not jobs. And so An exceptional leader is committed to making others better. Good leadership is critical, whether it's in a small business, a big business, government agency. Leadership shapes the culture that is, inspires your employees, improves morale, and fosters the loyalty of employees. Great leaders can create an environment where employees enjoy their work and strive to do better. This atmosphere can encourage employees to stick around, be loyal to the company, and engage more in work. And so I'm sure that a lot of us through the VR process have experienced a lot of hats where not only have you been a job coach, you've been a job developer, you're, taking the role of working with transition students, you've done intakes and referrals. So at the beginning of the slide, we mentioned a bit about all the different services that New Mexico DVR services provide. Those are all the services that we provide. We don't have a lot of specialized caseloads here in New Mexico. So we do a lot of different tasks. And so when we're looking at these different tasks, it's really important how this impacts our retention. And so how can we improve our agency's leadership? We encourage, and that's encourage leaders to enable their teams to reach their highest potential, understand the integrity is the cornerstone of trust, set clear vision for the team, and foster innovation. Explain and ask the why, hold open office, hold open office hours. And a lot of that leads to one-on-one time with your staff. So when we are truly great leaders and effective leaders, we recognize exceptional talent from far away. We didn't include recruitment in this because I think New Mexico does a great job with recruitment to some extent. They're out there recruiting people. For some reason, after COVID has impacted, a lot of people don't want to return back to work. So we're seeing a lot of that, especially in my area where we have a lot of rural areas. So, we do have other challenges in New Mexico that prevent us from, the recruitment aspect, but our focus here was leadership. And so just wanted to move on to the next slide. April, did she go away? I don't know where she went. Okay.
Did it move?
Yeah, it did.
Oh, okay.
So shaping advancement opportunities. And so here's offering opportunities for growth and development. Creating that advancement opportunities isn't just outlining a clear path for progression. It's also providing the employees with an opportunity to develop skills and expand their knowledge, offering training programs, mentoring opportunities, job shadowing, experiencing maybe other tasks you could provide to teams, and then that will help them grow and prepare new opportunities for an organization. And shaping and growth and development is something we saw within New Mexico. We have I think we have like 9 different locations in New Mexico. And a lot of our areas, rural area, we have a metro area, which is centrally located with, I'm going to say 3 or 4 offices within that metro area. So there's a lot of growth in that area, but when you come to the rural areas, it's difficult. There are challenges. There are tier specialized VRC positions, promote internally, employer funded continuing education, And then utilizing people for, contract work, and utilizing that opportunity, and then creating mentorship opportunities. And when you do have advancement opportunities, you are creating a boost satisfaction and employee retention as well. The next is culture, work and life balance. As you know, as in the VR field, you're constantly busy. You're constantly on the move, handling case by case and figuring out that next step and providing the services to participants. And so that's important within VR services, because I think that when we're able to establish that work and life balance, then we can be better suited to come back and, do the same thing day after day. There's also the flexibility schedule option, embrace equity and inclusion, promote health and wellness, encourage developing trust among leaders and employees, inform employees they are valued, and then just regular productive feedback. To a lot of employees, just the simple little things are important to them. Engagement, increase leadership opportunities. Many employees feel they can contribute more, build simple but effective best practice, confer major changes with employees to obtain input prior to implementation. That kind of coincides with the why. It's really important when there is a policy change, especially in our office, and that we explain why. What are the reasons for the changes, and what is happening. So scheduling one-on-one meetings encourage cross-training opportunities. Recognition. This is huge. I think because there has been a lot of issues with retention, we tend to lose track of who's new and who we should be providing that extra recognition for staying as long as they have. And so that is important at VR. Recognition can help motivate individuals. It may help make employees feel valued and appreciated. Social recognition is important. You could go out and have a barbecue, do team building that turns into recognition. Anything with your instant message that might relate to a recognition of a staff. Those are important. And then celebrating as a team and being cohesive. And then recommendations that we suggest is just create an open communication network where employees are part of the decision-making process. Sometimes within VR, we're constantly busy and we don't get that opportunity to listen in and get those feedback or those communication network with other staff to kind of get what their decision process looks like. So being open to that is important. Nurture an open-minded work environment where employees feel empowered to voice concerns without fear of backlash. Provide employees with opportunities to share their voice and give feedback. Consider changing positions to include tier or specialized VRCs and support staff. Establish a system where employees can fit into different roles for the day, whether it is training or shadowing other staff. And I think one of the biggest things that we do in my area is we like to cross-train. Recently, we've lost quite a few staff members. So we've just been cross-training everybody. Techs are working with VRs, VRs are working with techs. We're partnering them. That way they're building their skills and their knowledge, and they can keep passing that on. And that seems to help when there is a vacancy and we feel like, hey, that person has the confidence and the skills to cover a case or a question that might be asked by a new person. So a lot of value and feedback from staff as well. And we are open for any questions if anybody has any. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Hatona and April. Thank you both from New Mexico. Great information, great recommendations. We're going to turn this over to Priyanka and Ashley. Thank you.
All right, good morning, everyone. All right, sorry, just had to get ready. So my name is Ashley Giboni. I am a supervisor for New Hampshire's Manchester office. So I've been with the agency for 7+ years, and I've been in the supervisor position for about 3 months now. So loving life right now. So the topic that Priyanka and I will be going over is optimizing eligibility determination and strategies for enhancing productivity and efficiency. So the overall impact on the timeliness of eligibility determination has influenced by the referral and application process, as well as the collection of medical records and time required to complete intake meetings. This isn't great customer service and not so great with the timeliness of our eligibilities. So right now, we've identified some unintended consequences of our referral process. The current referral process is not being adhered to in accordance with the current New Hampshire guidance, particularly regarding follow-up and case closure. This deficiency stems from insufficient training and follow-up to ensure staff comprehension of the guidance. Initial intakes. Appointments are not being scheduled within the required 30 days due to proposed appointments being missed without confirmation or no-shows to appointments. The referral process is presently not governed by policy, but by guidance that is not readily accessible through VR training systems such as our VR intranet/Canvas. The quality of intake and eligibility recommendations completed by contracted vendors does not meet the VR NH standards and frequently requires corrections. Take up a lot of our time. Also, to give you guys a little bit of background, we receive referrals from our education interface, referrals from other area agencies and mental health agencies, self-referrals, and then we receive soft referrals from employment security. We also have an issue with documentation. The process of collecting, reviewing, gathering, and completing eligibility within the 90-day mark is inherently lengthy for individuals in urgent need of services. The eligibility process lacks fluidity due to reliance on medical record documentation and time consuming to follow up on record requests. Right now, case closed prior to eligibility within the application status between April 1st of 2023 to March 31st of 2024, we have 46% of unable to locate, contact, or moved. 40% refused services or no further services are needed. And included above and other reasons, total case closed 197 before eligibility determination. Total VR cases is 2,938 and 5,525 in grand total. That includes active and inactive cases. Within the last year, eligibility extension reasons have been no documentation. So we had reported within the last year 148 extensions due to no documentation, and then 51 due to no documentations and because of the participant, and no documentations / the organization. And when we say organization, we mean VR staff, is 19, and that totals a total of 218 eligibilities that were not completed within 60 days. So as you can imagine, that's a lot of eligibilities that have not been completed in a timely manner and loss of engagement. So part of our eligibility and attempt to help minimize the timeliness of eligibilities is we started outsourcing intakes and eligibilities. So we have 2 vendors that we utilize. One's we just recently started with, and then another we've been using for about 2 or 3 years now. But outsourcing the intake and eligibility recommendation process has been beneficial in maintaining a steady flow of participants entering and continuing with services. However, it has not led to a significant reduction in the time required for VR counselors to complete eligibilities, with the process still taking around 45 days or more. Currently, we are, sorry, I already said that. While the service is still new, the regional office still needs to review and approve eligibility. The quality of the eligibility recommendations does not meet VR NH standards and frequently require adjustments. The rationale behind outsourcing is to improve timeliness and scheduling, completing eligibility. Sorry, guys. Our vendors are on a fee for contract basis, therefore do not have access to our case management system. And that's a big reason why we still have to review and approve them and on a regional level. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to be mindful of your time. I'm gonna go ahead and hand it off to Priyanka.
Thank you, Ashley. You rocked it. So, when Ashley went through the numbers, and when we were going through the numbers, it was like, do we serve only that much of people, or is that referral and application on people in service only 5,525 or 2,938, right? So that was really coming across my mind, and we are thinking about eligibilities that went into extension and the closures that we had. And as the numbers speak and the processes speak, and I'm sure you all have gone through this similar processes in your work, it was just coming down to, why are we really requiring documentation? And do we really need a documentation to do the work? What has been already done by other states? So we were very fortunate to talk to, or have the opportunity to talk to Mark, a deputy from California Department of Rehabilitation. And we were able to kind of connect with him to see what was the challenges they had and what was the result. So keeping that in mind, we started thinking about our own processes, and we were thinking, what can be done to not have so many extensions when we could have served 218 people within the time without requiring to have another extension. Also keep in mind, our ineligibility rate is less than 1% or about 1%. So do we really need to wait 60 days or 45 days to make that decision about eligibility? Are we really focused on inclusion, or are we thinking about exclusion? Why are we questioning the focus of why the people are coming to us? Isn't it a good thing to serve more people? And how can we do that? So with that, again, with that being in mind, some of the proposals that we have, and the funds are a little smaller. So we are we are recommending to implement a rapid engagement and expedited eligibility process for VR New Hampshire. What does that mean and how can we do more is also looking to the documentation requirement for eligibility determination or eliminating documentation requirement for eligibility determination, removing the necessity for proposed intake appointment for soft referrals. Let me elaborate a little bit on that. So we have soft referrals, meaning people who have not really engaged with us from the very beginning. We only got the referral through third party, and we have not been able to make connections with them. So during our referral process, we are, as part of an outreach, we send a proposed appointment time. What is that doing? It's great that we are offering, but not all the appointment dates are or appointment slots are being filled, but it's actually prohibiting the potential intake time that we could have used and not prolonging the time for other people who are actively involved or in the referral process. So it's kind of delaying the appointments openings for other people who are involved. Establishing an internal eligibility team. It was great to have outsourcing options, especially putting a Band-Aid at the time when we are staff short, or we have, we didn't have capacity. It was great. We came up with a solution at the time and we outreached. We are still doing that. But thinking in mind the communication time, and we were thinking to have improvement within the time of eligibility and getting faster than what we were already doing. As Ashley was mentioning, it really didn't happen so much. We're still seeing eligibilities that are taking longer than 45 days or even more than 60 days. So, and the communication piece and reviewing piece, it's just a lot of redundancy of work. And we have to put a lot of, it's not one person doing the job, it's one team doing it, counselor reviews it, supervisor approves it, then the rehab tech handles it. Like, does it need to be 5-step process? So we're thinking of recommending an internal eligibility unit that's housed within the New Hampshire VR. It helps to streamline the communication process. So there's not a lot of wait. So it's coming through, we take it through once the eligibility is done, the communication can be much smoother and streamlined. Enhancing the accessibility of referral guidance. Referral guidance is just one topic area or like subject or a documentation. When I say that, what I'm trying to refer is any kind of documentation or any kind of policy, guidance, letters, resources. We currently have like Yes LMS, Canvas, intranet. We start in SharePoint, letters, folders, and emails all over the place. Is that easily accessible? No, especially when you're training new people and when you have to look at it, right? So we've been talking about SharePoint, so that's the hope we have, that we are getting some sunshine, the ray of hopes for it. So hopefully we'll have that one place, one stop for all, everything. So that's one of the recommendations we have in place. And also understanding with the new processes and new staff coming on board, and also looking at trainings for eligibilities to improve the quality of our training, and also to mainly to ensure the understanding of our staff about the policies and eligibility process. So really following up to ensure that. And how can we do that? Once the training happens, open more space for feedbacks, take it to the staff meetings. And then when you have that, having staff meetings, you have the conversation overall team, maybe go over with the policies itself and review the process. And then you can take the recommendation out to the policy management or policy evaluator, whoever your team is, and proceed that way. The last portion of recommendation is looking into the quality management or implementing quality management by streamlining the eligibility narrative requirement. So right now, we used to do it in a case note section of Aware. We took that away. Now we have it under the eligibility page. We have that section where we are writing the narrative for any eligibility that we do. But if we do expedited eligibility, that's based on counselor judgment and observation. We will require some kind of documentation and narration post to it. So if we are going to do that, the recommendation is let's look into streamlining what information we really need in order to get the narration done. So looking to the quality of it. Ultimately, these measures are aimed to expedite and improve the quality of eligibility process, and improve the overall efficiency of VR staff and VR. As Dacia, our presenter, was talking, being responsive to the people. And I'm thinking back of my head, like, can we be like Amazon? Their delivery time is a day or two, right? Can we think about California leading to the eligibility doing within 1 to 5 days of finding people eligible, and they serve higher quality, like, their number is a lot more bigger than us. So I know I started jumping off from different slides. Thank you for putting next slide. I think I've already covered this portion, but let me increase the size. I can't read. I don't know what happened actually. Okay, so when we talk about the highlights and the challenges, as I was talking about, it helps to increase the timeliness of eligibility. It also empowers the counselor, because all the certification, education, years of experience that we all bring here helps to make the judgment and create more trust in the process. Counselors are more invested in the process and knowing their participants. Quick turn around in determining eligibility means less closure, less extension needed, and better engagement with participants. Isn't that a fantastic customer service? So, again, as I mentioned, California was able to demonstrate successfully completing eligibilities within a day to 5 days. Does that really mean that we do not need any documentation? Sometimes we are so used to doing it and now say, oh, we don't need any documentation. That can be scary, right? So it is not saying that we don't need any documentation. It's saying that if we can make the judgment and observation with the documentation we have with the customer, and we're respecting the customers, our participants, what they're saying, we are utilizing person-centered approach. Let's make that decision for eligibility determination. Let's move forward. But there might be instances where we may need further documentation, right? In those cases, we can reach out to medical providers or other agencies that can offer the documentation to support the eligibility determination or service planning. But we don't have to be waiting on following through for a month out of 60 days, just waiting to get the intake done, or to get the medical records received and take time to review it. And then it's just the 60 days goes by a blink. What is happening? Disengaged customers or disengaged participants. Keeping California in mind, I know we are kind of looking into their footsteps. New Hampshire is a smaller state. There might be different variables than the VR, than the California VR. So we may have to start with a pilot program, maybe start with a smaller, start with the few regional offices, see how that progresses with the faster eligibility or expedited eligibility, how is that helping us? So we can take it by step process. If we started as a pilot, if it's showing the faster turnaround, we can see whatever the areas for gap are, and then improvise it, improve it, and then move on to the next offices as well. So expand that way is one of the suggestions. The other way is to look into our key partners in the community. We get referrals from different places. Why are we not building an agreement or interface system? We started doing that with post-education systems, but we are not really doing that with developmental agencies or state agencies where we get referrals. Can we create some agreements so that we're not waiting on releases, or we're not waiting on referrals to be not having open communication about it? So that being said, there's a lot of work to be done around, but it can be done. And I think we are hopeful for it. This was just a one piece. I think there's so much to it that we have to think more. But this is definitely a one step ahead. Thank you for listening to us. And we really want to thank Mark from Mark, deputy from California DOR, and then John Conley for being our advisor and our coach. Thank you so much for your support, and thank you, everybody.
Yes, thank you so much.
Congratulations and great work. Thank you both for such a outstanding presentation on improving the engagement process, eligibility determination. John, any comments?
Well, I just want to thank Ashley, Hatona, April, and Priyanka. You all did a wonderful job, and I know that you've had many challenges in terms of open positions and not only being a leader as a supervisor, but also being a counselor. So I really appreciate your commitment to your customers and to the profession, your willingness to be part of LeadVR and continue your growth. And I guess I would go back to Daisha Johnson's comments. And I guess this is for everyone in this cohort of LeadVR. I think there have been a lot of wonderful ideas that you can implement. Some you are going to take more time than others, and you need to bring in other stakeholders. But I, hope you'll take the opportunity to reflect back on all this great information and use it. Don't let it sit on a shelf. Don't let it go and be ignored. So thank you all. Great job from everyone today.
Thank you, John. I failed to ask if there were any questions for Priyanka and Ashley's presentation. I know they had some very specific information that they were building upon in their recommendations. Any questions from anyone?
I have just a comment. Priyanka and Ashley, that was really good information. And a lot of what you said really just hit home in terms of talking about timeliness and eligibility, because I think we're all talking about that. The extensions, as you all see, even in our VR agency, are numerous and constant and ongoing. And two things that I really like that you're going to attempt to do is, if need be, a pilot program. I think that anytime you're trying to make really big changes and really change a system in the way, in a culture, honestly, in the way in which you all are doing things, it is helpful to start with a pilot because people are leadership. They may have less fear of doing it with a pilot just to see how it works. But you already have really good data that says, okay, so we've tried to outsource it and it's okay, but it's still not where we want to be. So now what can we do? And I love that you guys have that. But you said some really good things around eligibility with regards to counselor judgment, with regards to just some real unique and creative things you might want to try that could really push the needle. And if it's done well, this is something I would love to hear nationally, because this could be a game changer for a lot of agencies. So really good job.
Thank you. Thank you, Sharina.
Thank you. So this wraps up our presentations, and we will just want to say congratulations, you made it. Congratulations, LeadVR 2024 graduates, on this 50th anniversary of our agency being made. I don't even know where my words are going right now. They're just going out the door. 50th anniversary on our formation as UA Currents. I'm so excited to see your progress in your presentations today. And as you go forward, just keep in mind this quote from Adam Grant that I'm sharing on my screen now. It says, "Good leaders build products, great leaders build cultures." A lot of what you talked about today was around building your organization's culture. And I want to encourage you as well. Thank you again for inviting your leaders to be here. I'm excited that they showed up. And if you haven't sent me their names and their email addresses, please do so, because I intend to follow up with them and thank them again for their participation, to share with them the recording from today, as well as your presentation, not only your presentation, but everyone's presentations, and to link the similarities that you all had in your presentations. And a big one that many of you touched upon was building culture, building that workplace culture, building an agency that embraces belonging, where everyone feels that they are a part. It's so important for us as leaders. Good leaders deliver results. Great leaders develop people. And as you go forward with your presentations, we know that some of your agencies will fully embrace what you are presenting, and some will say, you know what, that's not what we had in mind. In either case, don't be discouraged. Keep using your voice, keep fighting, keep speaking up, keep showing up. So keep pushing the agendas, and be willing to take risks, and be willing to engage in the conversation, even if it takes a different focus than what you've presented here today. The key ingredient is use your voice, be willing to speak up, stay engaged, stay a part of the process. Whatever you do, don't disengage at this point. Keep moving forward. Good leaders have vision. Great leaders have values. Remember your DISC assessments. Remember the things that drive you, that keep you motivated. And remember to bring that to the workplace as you engage with your colleagues, your staff, and also as you coach up with your leaders. Good leaders are role models at work. Great leaders are role models in life. We know that you all are great leaders, and we are excited to have shared with you in the journey today and throughout the past several months. Congratulations on your journey. You'll be getting a certificate by email from me for your participation in this training, as well as a virtual badge that I encourage you, put it in your signature line, share it with your on your LinkedIn page, tag us on LinkedIn as well as on Facebook and Instagram. Let people know that you are a graduate of LeadVR. Some of the previous graduates have gone on to become deputy directors at their agencies, interim directors at their agencies, or they've been promoted from their middle management role up to higher management positions. We know that this is just the beginning of your leadership journey. So be proud of what you've accomplished here today, and look forward to even brighter future that's coming for you. Stay connected with us. We are expecting to open up our LeadVR second cohort in June. That's my goal, at least. And that information will be on our website, https uacurrents.org. So be looking forward to that, and we'll send you the announcement when it becomes available. And then also stay connected to your faculty leaders. Give them updates. And if you have some movement on your presentations, let us know how that goes. All right, I think I hope I was sharing my screen. Was I? Okay. I don't know how to stop sharing it now. It won't let me stop anymore. So I am going to open it up if anyone has any comments before we close out for today.
I'm sure everyone just wants to thank you and the leadership team for all that you've given to us and all of your time and extra energy. It's been great, I know, for me, and I know for my team. But thank you very, very much. We appreciated everything.
Thank you, Karen.
Will they get an evaluation, Dr. Freeman?
What's that?
Will they get an evaluation?
Oh, thank you for reminding me. I will send you an evaluation form as well. And please share that or take that and give us your feedback about the program. We do intend to make some changes going forward given a little bit more time in between some of the sessions, and especially with the projects presentation, adding another virtual class in between the coaching and the projects presentation, just to help you to get better prepared for that process. So I'll be sending out an evaluation. Let us know what worked for you, what didn't work, where you would like to see improvements, because we will be planning and adding your recommendations to the future cohorts.
Thank you, Robin. I wanted to just thank everybody. It was so nice to like meet everybody and to have the opportunity to hear from all of the different states and what they're doing, and you know, all of the different ways that we do these different things. So and I think that the presenters that you put together were so inspiring, and it really helped you know, us to be able to become a little bit more confident in what we're looking for, and seeing such success in other states was really helpful. So thank you, guys, all.
Thank you, Maureen.
I want to just say thank you, Robin and Veronica. I know I've said it, and I said it yesterday, but the other thing that I forgot to say today was to David during our presentation, just what a leader you have been for our team, a mentor and a friend. And gosh, I love all of my people, and I've just learned so much. Thank you all.
Thank you, Gretchen.
And this is Lena. I second all that too. It was so great to meet all of you, and I hope that somewhere down the road we see each other again. And I got so much out of this. I think sometimes too, the longer that you stay in these roles, you kind of feel defeated. So I appreciate being part of this and that hopeful feeling, and still wanting to make change and make a difference. And it was very inspiring, all of you.
Thank you, Selena.
You guys all worked so hard and did a lot in a short period of time. I hope everyone takes a little bit of time to just savor the work you've done and be proud of what you've accomplished. But as John said earlier, don't forget to pick it back up and keep moving forward, because you presented some wonderful ideas that could really help move the needle across all of VR.
And please, 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 let's stay connected. I would love for someone in this group to take the lead and having perhaps a quarterly LeadVR Cohort 2024 check-in meeting where you're sharing updates and encouraging one another just to keep yourselves engaged in the process, and to help you to problem solve. And also to get ideas from one another. And perhaps we can all plan on meeting up again in person. And when we do, drinks are on David, right? Yes. Yay. Thank you, David.
He's the best, man.
You are the best. So again, thank you all for being on today, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Bye.